It's uncut, it's unfiltered. This is the show of shows. This is the biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred.
Speaking his mind.
I've never had a problem expressing my opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way.
Exploring hot topics.
Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do.
And spreading the gospel of drag racing.
I respect the history. I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. This is the great American motorsport, drag racing.
The Wes Buck Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Hey gang, Wes Buck here, Drag Illustrated Magazine, checking in. It is Wednesday, October 12th, 2022. I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you so much for joining us. We are live from the Texas Motorplex, the legendary Texas Motorplex. I think we had this argument earlier, discussion, the first ever of the drag racing super tracks,
for sure.
the house that Billy Meyer built for the second annual Texas Stampede of Speed, a 7-10 day, nearly over a week-long festival of all things drag racing, and we are very excited to have you join us today. To my left, as always, but all together for the first time in a minute, right?
Well,
well,
like
I guess
a
a month ago.
We're doing this more frequently now.
It's kind of hard to set up.
I've got the ones and
remote.
only Mike Carpenter, my partner in crime here at Drag Illustrated Magazine, as well as JT Murder T Hudson. What's going on, guys?
Man, we got some testing going on.
Yeah, man, we got some testing.
Looks like Shane Tucker, maybe Rob Tucker.
I actually think it's Rob.
Here testing. So if you guys hear that, if you hear burnouts, all the good stuff over top of us, I don't think they'll be mad.
Horsepower.
No, it's a fantastic thing. It's an interesting deal, and I think we should go ahead and dive in. For those that are not familiar with the Texas Stampede of Speed, this is an incredible thing that the team here at the Texas Motorplex started working on, I believe about 2 years ago. It came to fruition last fall with the first go-round, which was a monumental success by all accounts. We're back for year 2. This is a deal that's designed almost entirely to bring tourism, new eyes, new interest, fresh perspective to the sport of drag racing. Here in a few minutes, we'll be joined by one of the people that have been the driving force behind this happening, the one and only Christy Meyer-Johnson. Huge event down here, and I'm just curious. You've been to the Motorplex before, JT. This is your first time here. What's your initial impression of this facility? It's pretty unbelievable,
nice.
right?
Yeah. It's big. I mean, man. I mean, you just you notice that when you pull in, how big it is, and the tower. I mean, this suite we're in is the suite is sweet.
Every inch of this tower, I think it's been renovated, and it definitely shows.
Fantastic point there. After the freeze that kind of took this part of the country by storm,
you brought
no
that
pun
with
intended,
you
literally
from Missouri. Down
I
here
felt
to
bad,
Texas.
man. I felt bad. It was definitely something that felt like we brought with us from Northeast Missouri down here to Texas. But it's there was a massive investment made by the team at the Motorplex to get this place renovated and redone. And here we are for what I think is going to be a barn burner of a few days at the Motorplex, man. I had to drop it early. Everybody should take a drink. I started saying barn burner, but they pick on me, guys. They pick on me. I start to repeat words and they pick on me. But anyways, incredible couple of days here. I was actually out here Monday night. Well, let's go back to Sunday. From what I understand, 15,000+ people on the property for the second go round of the Country Music Festival out here. They had hit me with the names of the people we had out here. Brett Young, Wade Bowen, Shane Smith and the Saints. I mean, like a legit high-level country music concert. They had a lantern release. Have you seen the photos of this on social?
I haven't seen them yet.
Yeah,
it's full.
Last year was spectacular.
It was
the lantern release was also.
It was absolutely monumental. And then what I thought was especially interesting, I got to talk to Christy about this a little bit on Monday night, was that, and I don't know how this came to be, and maybe she can tell us when the time comes, but I found it very interesting. Did you guys know that they actually, in between sets of the country music show, they ran Top Fuel dragsters? They had Scott Palmer out here and Alex Laughlin.
Yeah, I did see that.
And so for those of you that haven't been to the Texas Motorplex, there's a massive set of grandstands on the pit side of the track. Just beyond that is where they had the stage set up for the country music show, right? So between sets, they They turn things on over here, fire up a Christmas tree, throw some water in the box down there, and they run a set of nitro top fuel dragsters down the track. And Christy was telling me, and I'll get her to give us the full description of this in a little bit, but she said people were like flocking to the grandstands, like they were leaving the country show.
Yeah, somebody posted
to get over here,
stands,
and it was. She showed me photos, and it was like the place was packed out, like a Friday of a national event. To watch two cars.
That's awesome, and that's probably a different audience than would be here normally. So introducing the sport to an entirely new audience. And again, Scott Palmer, what can you say about this guy?
Holy moly. That's a guy that's doing it for all the right reasons, right? This isn't a guy that's out here making millions of dollars or anything like that. That is somebody that genuinely wants to see the sport of drag racing grow. And I genuinely feel that we need more of this. We need a few more of these, not a few more, a whole lot more of these opportunities to kind of introduce people to our sport. And I think that's why the Travis Pastrana deal a few weeks ago at ZMAX was so significant, because these are clearly people that are, interested in live events. They're interested in action or extreme sports, however you want to word it.
Motorsports,
and if we can just plant a seed, introduce them to our sport, and maybe we win 1%, maybe we win 0.5%. I don't know.
Even if they pay a little bit of attention,
it's
from
worth
now
it.
on, that's worth it. Yeah,
I couldn't agree
what's
more.
The common thread between those two things, Scott Palmer.
Yeah, absolutely, Scott Palmer,
So
and
that's why we say he's arguably the best ambassador for the sport of drag racing right now. Everything he owns is in that trailer. We've talked about that, but he's the first one to let someone hop in there, let someone warm up a top fuel car, let someone like Travis Pastrana drive it. So again, hats off to Scott Palmer.
I can't say enough about the guy, to be honest, because he is someone that is selflessly out here trying to do what he knows is best for the sport of drag racing. And I hate to say it, guys, but this is what it takes. I mean, they say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, I think it takes a village to take a sport to the next level. Right. I mean, despite the fact that drag racing has been around for 70 years, and I think we're all very proud and very, I won't say content, but I think we're grateful for where we're at as a sport. It's fantastic. I mean, we're following up NFL football on Fox. I mean, there's a lot of great things happening in the sport. But as I tell you guys and our team at Drag Illustrated all the time, I truly believe we're walking around on fertile soil. Like, there's a long way to go. There's so much more for this sport to accomplish. And it takes people like Scott Palmer, like Christy Meyer-Johnson, like the team here at the Texas Motorplex. And it goes far beyond her. There's a great group of guys and gals here that are working tirelessly to do what I would call the Lord's work, spread the gospel of drag racing, right? And it's you nailed it, though. Scott Palmer, what a deal. I was out here. I actually got to race. We'll talk about this a little bit later, actually. We'll talk about my racing and my it was a little bit of an unceremonious exit. I immediately
it sounds like you had the time of your life. You were just telling me the story yesterday, and I was jealous.
Well, I lost via red light in the second round.
But your guy that let you drive the car, Tom, right?
Tom Gunner. My man.
He won the
homie. Yeah. No, it was, what I did is as soon as the tree went red, I shut the car off, climbed out, and I went straight to Christie's suite. And I said, you guys got to check the rollout, timing system, this place. Let's just bulldoze this whole area here, lay new wires, because something's wrong with the timing system. There's no chance that I red lighted.
Through your helmet.
Oh, I threw my head out, kicked the door shut. Nonetheless, but we got a cool deal here. So Monday was the Scott Palmer's Nitro Sideshow. Really cool deal. Tuesday, last night they had a Pro Mod shootout, $15,000 to win. Pro Mod shootout.
Stevie Jackson took that.
When has there ever been a $15,000 to win Pro Mod shootout on a Tuesday night?
Yeah,
that's crazy, right?
Except last year.
Except last year. Yeah, at the Stampede of Speed. So Stevie Jackson takes the win. Well, hold on. And today we have open testing. So because of the nuances of the NHRA, and we may touch on some of this a little bit, because it's a little bit of a dance that has to be done to organize something like this, because it's never been done before. There's not another track in the country that embarks on putting on a show that's a week long. And whenever you're putting on a show that's a week long, you've got a lot of space to fill. That's a lot of real estate. Yeah. So you need to lean on the cars and stars in the pits. And the team at the Texas Motorplex, they I think the ultimate goal was to have like protesting today, but all these nuances and competitive whatnots. We are doing top fuel or top alcohol funny car, pro stock, pro mod, and factory shootout testing.
Not the fuel cars.
Not the fuel
because
cars.
of the pro organization.
Yeah.
That's basically.
God forbid anybody make any extra runs.
They sort of call the shots on when you're testing and when you're not.
Yeah,
But it's good. I think
I get it.
overall,
I get it,
I understand the reason for that.
I don't, but whatever.
Cost control. Control.
We'll call it that. I get it. Whatever. But hey, before we get any further along, I do want to remind everybody that the Wes Buck Show is brought to you by way of Redline Synthetic Oils. Redline Synthetic Oil has been protecting engines since 1979. Their formulas were born in the lab and have been tested on tracks. I think that seems like a good run.
Yeah.
I bet they've got Redline in that thing. Their formulas were born in the lab and have been tested on tracks around the world. From 11,000 horsepower nitro burning engines to 50cc motorcycle engines, they have the lubricants and coolants you need. Redline's lineup of coolants, gear oils, greases, and motor oils have protected racers in championship quests in all forms of racing. Also, this is a cool deal that they do every fall. Guys, Redline Oil is now accepting applications for the 2023 season. So if you want to join Team Redline, all you have to do is log on to redlineoil.com and click on sponsorships on the bottom of the page to fill out your application. This is a really cool
JT
deal.
already did that.
I did it.
He
Did you do
already
it?
signed
Yeah,
up
I did
trying
it.
to get his
Yeah.
golf cart sponsored.
I'm
by
telling you, man.
What do you need oil for?
Anything free.
Hey, man, huge shout out to the team at Redline Oil for their support of this show and all of our endeavors here at Drag Illustrated Magazine. But I tell you what, guys, I'm sure she's got other more pressing things to do. So let's go ahead and give it up for Christy Meyer-Johnson. We'll talk a little bit of shop. Yeah, I got a microphone here for you and everything, Christy. It's kind of it may have a little bit of Diet Coke and vodka on it.
guys want to scoot
my
over.
bad. Let's give it up. Hey,
Yeah, and I'll just slide out here.
got to give her a round of applause.
Yeah.
Yeah. How goes it, Christy?
Good. Everything's great.
Yeah, I mean, what I think it's on.
Okay, making sure.
Can you check the audio there, T? I think she's good. She looks good in this
Yep.
shot.
Great,
We're
great,
good.
okay.
Sit back down, T. Come on.
Sit back down, buddy.
He's always looking for the first opportunity to jet out of here.
Jet out of here and grab a beer. So, and we've got a little bit of background noise, guys, but it won't last too long. We are drag racing. But I'm just curious. I asked you this last year, like, what's the pass fail, for this event? What do you guys measure? What are you looking to accomplish? Looking back on last year and where we are here today, I mean, what are the goals of yourself and the team at the Motorplex for this event?
I mean, really, really and truthfully, our goal is to grow drag racing. I mean, that's the entire vision of the Stampede Speed.
Sorry.
Keep talking. Or
Yeah, go ahead.
That's the whole reason we're doing this, is to grow the sport of drag racing. I mean, so we also want to, with the theme of the Stampede of Speed, we want people to get that true Texas hospitality. So we want to bring people from out of state into Texas, obviously for great revenue, but also just because we have this facility. We have 500 acres. We have the ability to do more than a lot of people can across the country, and just introduce people to drag racing, and then provide an awesome fan experience to our core fans that have been here for
What was your
30
feedback
years.
like from last year? Because on our end, on the media side of the business, people were excited. I think I had friends and family members from out of state all around the country calling me going like, man, you made me feel like I really missed something. What was your kind of takeaway? Because, when you've got a year to look back on it, I mean, how did you feel about the first go round of the Stampede of Speed?
I mean, we were extremely pleased. We put it together in less than, I think we started in May planning for it.
Wow.
So just a couple months. So we were extremely pleased with the turnout. I mean, obviously I was very overwhelmed. I mean, I didn't know, our team is incredible here at the Motorplex, but I just didn't know if we could pull it off. 10 days is a long time. 4 days for Fall Nationals, we're exhausted, and, there's a lot going on with that. But to add 6 days in there, I just didn't know how we would perform. And so I was extremely humbled and blessed, and just watching everything on social media, seeing people's reactions. I mean, the stories, people coming in from all over the world and the country. It's very overwhelming.
Did you think that whenever you looked at this whole deal, because I was curious about that as well, because it takes an army
Right.
to do this. And when I rolled through the gate Monday and when I rolled through the gate again today, I asked the kids down there working, I'm like, y'all worn out yet? And they're like, no, we're doing good. And I got to give you some kudos, because you've got a team that is like fired up. It seems like they've got a chip on their shoulder. Like they want to prove
Right.
that they can do this, because it is a big ask. I mean, we've put on a handful of drag races ourselves, and you do it 2-3 days and you're ready to not speak to a human being for a month afterwards.
Right.
I can't imagine doing it for 7 to 10, not to mention all the different things. I asked you about this Monday night, but I mean, you guys had a country music concert here on Sunday. You're working with Live Nation. I mean, it's not like you're calling some of our buddies from the honky tonk. You know what I mean? You're calling major superstar acts. What is this balancing act? I mean, it's a lot of people, a lot of masters to serve.
Right. Oh, for sure. I mean, we couldn't do it without our team. Our team, we have a very small team, actually. There's probably not even 15, 20 of us, but we have worked for months. I mean, we've been planning this for at least 10 months. Obviously, we wanted to bring back similar things to what we did last year, but also some new things. So, I mean, for us, it's just, we know this is our Super Bowl. You know, we gear up. This is our time that we don't have a choice. We have to be healthy. We have to be ready. We have to, be in our A game. And I mean,
pull your kids out of school.
Right.
I mean, people forget about stuff like that.
I mean,
absolutely.
my kids are here. They're missing 4 days of school. Thank goodness we had fall break. So they're here. My daughter's actually in the Champions Club right now, setting the table settings for tonight. She's 10. But I mean, if they're here, they might as well work, and I mean, that's
you
why
sound
not?
like my dad. Wow.
Not child labor at all, but I'm instilling great work ethic, right?
Yeah.
But it's a family affair for us. My parents are here. My husband, Barry, and I co-manage the track now. I mean, it is a massive undertaking. So, I mean, for us, it's just, this is it. And then we have a week off and we have Street Outlaws, and then we're done for the season. So we can see the end in sight. And then we know we can sleep for a few months.
You're going to need to sleep for a few
are.
months. What do you make of like the state of Texas? Because I'm relatively new to this community. Obviously, I've been down here for about 2.5 years, but I tell these guys, and I tell anyone really that'll listen, that
Has it been that long?
yeah, man,
Yeah,
it's been
really?
2.5 years. Yeah.
Wow.
2020. It was like the spring of 2020. So to be here this long, you hear people, I mean, all around the world talk about Texas. It has this kind of aura about it, but you don't really appreciate it until you get here. You talked about that Texas hospitality, but there's like a real incredible sense of community and pride that exists down here. I'm curious. I've had many conversations with Elon Warner, who's a big part of your team here, kind of on the PR media front, just talking about working with the state of Texas. Is it rewarding for you or validating to have the state get behind this event?
Absolutely. I mean, so we are in the Major Event Trust Fund, which they created in the state of Texas for the Super Bowl and for the Final Four, things like that. NASCAR's involved, COTA. So it is a huge honor to be able to do this and to go through the process, to be able to have the bill passed and work with the governor's office.
Be guilty by association, mentioned in the same breath, but I mean, mentioned in the same breath as Formula One.
Right. And so, I mean, it's an honor, and it was a lot of hard work to get there. I had the honor to go down and testify in front of the Senate and the House to be able to get the bill passed. So that was great to be able to promote drag racing, out there in the
Was that terrifying?
Capitol. No, I mean,
No?
it wasn't, I mean, it was a small group. They had committees, so it wasn't
Cool.
like I had to sit in front of the entire, house, but it was a great honor to be able to sit there and be in the, the Texas Capitol building. And the governor let us come out and bring Steve Torrance's car. That when he signed the bill, Steve Torrance came to, the governor's mansion.
He warmed it up,
awesome.
didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The governor
Yeah.
got in the car. I mean, that was incredible to be like downtown Austin. People are like running through the streets. Like, what is this noise?
Oh, yeah, running away from
Yeah.
him, right?
I don't blame him.
Yeah. I mean, they're like, what is happening? It's Austin's, more like chill vibe.
Yeah,
Like,
they
what
weren't
is
sure
happening?
at all.
They weren't sure.
But it was incredible. So, I mean, to have the support of the state has been incredible. We actually have several of the state reps and senators coming out this weekend. So it's great to be able to host them and to show them something new. A lot of them have never seen drag racing. So, it's great. I love that. I love bringing people out here for the first time and seeing that baptism by nitro experience.
What's the feedback been from those
Oh,
officials
they love it.
and everyone involved with
Yeah.
this grant?
They are, I mean, so pleased for us, and we've become friends with them. And some of them actually have come out and gotten the cowboy hat, and they like to take their picture on the starting line. And
I brought mine with me.
did you?
I did.
I got a couple here. I'm switching
Yeah,
them
I
up
need to
every
borrow
week.
one.
I don't want to wear the same one every night.
No, you can't.
But they're just thrilled for us, and I mean, they see the potential here. I mean, a lot of them didn't even know. When they think drag racing, they're like, oh, just a small track. In a small town like Ennis, it's a small town. My dad was very methodical in his planning of being here at Ennis because of the location and the great access from the highways 35 and 45. But when they come here, they're like, what, how have we not known about this? So it's been a really great experience.
What is the local, and we're about to have an injected nitro dragster make a lick here. So maybe we should.
Jackie Frick.
I think it is Jackie Frick. Is it? Yeah. She was flying earlier. It went like a 28 maybe. Did I just say 528? I said
528.
I feel like I called it.
You did.
Guys, let's write
That's
that down. That
impressive.
may be the first time I've been right in a while. But I'm curious, one of the things that we have a lot of track promoters, track owners, operators, and on this show, and one of the things that a message that we kind of try to consistently send via the pages of Drag Illustrated and dragillustrated.com is we believe that amongst the most important thing that exists in drag racing is successful promoters. I mean, we need tracks. It's almost become like faux pas to like make money, be successful.
Right.
I mean, a lot of times the track promoters that do well are instantly vilified. But I try to remind folk that this is very important. That's how you get a facility that looks like this by being successful. So I'm curious.
Or someone to put their time in.
Yeah, I mean, because if
it takes forever to put on it.
We're all for philanthropy, right?
Right.
And I was just joking a minute, and I don't really even joke, doing the Lord's work,
Right.
but it's a labor of love no matter. It's a labor of love no matter how you slice it, but it is important for tracks to be successful. That's how we get luxury suites. That's how we get aluminum grandstands. That's how we get lower entry fees or higher purses, what have you. So I'm just curious, what is the local community? How do they react to an event like this? I mean, you talked about Ennis being a small town. We're just down the road from Waxahachie, Midlothian. Midlothian, do you get positive feedback? Are they aware of the importance of what you do here at the Motorplex?
For sure they are.
Okay,
and I
good.
mean, we have a great partnership with the city of Waxahachie. They have come alongside of us the past few years, and we have our fan fest tomorrow night downtown in Waxahachie. We had our cattle drive that kicked off the event last week. Last week.
It's
I'm like,
crazy.
here we are. Last week. That was almost a week ago. In downtown Waxahachie, the mayor is so supportive.
Awesome.
The judge for Ellis County, he'll be here Sunday. He's the one that carries, he signs the paperwork so we can get this stuff done, So he has been so supportive. And so we are so blessed. And then just the community as a whole. I mean, they come out here, they work, they come watch, it's really special.
And it's a growing community too.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't ignore all the
No,
houses
no.
on the way from Fort Worth over to here, all the homes being built.
Yeah.
So this area is growing and you're able to tap into that.
For sure. I feel like Waxahachie is like the new Frisco, Plano area. You know?
Wow.
I mean, it's just because it's only 30 minutes to downtown Dallas and people can live in a small community and then get to work easily.
What do we got here? I don't know who that is. That was not a successful attempt. I know that
He might
feeling.
back it up. He looks like he's
Yeah, he
thinking
could
about
do
it.
the old Friday night
thinking
test and
about it.
tune, back it up,
No, he's going.
try again.
He gone.
Nope, not going to do it. I'm curious. So what year was this place built?
1986.
1986. Okay, so I've been 3. How old you would have been
I
about the
was
same?
2.
Okay,
Yeah, I was
okay.
born in 84. So.
Okay, so oh my God, I'm
Oh
older
wow,
than
yeah.
you. Jeez, this
You're
is
the youngest one up
this
here.
is devolving.
I'm
Actually,
youngest.
JT is. No, I'm just kidding.
JT was born right around the time they invented the wheel. Yeah,
He was.
It's-
We were watching the Elvis movie last night, right?
Oh, yeah.
And JT was born the same year Elvis died. So Google
Oh.
that.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Elvis
I
movie?
have not yet.
Oh,
But I
well,
need to.
cut out of here after this
Okay.
and just go get that knocked out
Take a break.
because
I
take
need
a break.
nap. I might fall asleep.
2 hours and 49
Honestly.
minutes.
It came on last night, and Wes was like, when he tried to talk, he like, shh, turn it up.
He was
Turn it up."
crying.
Yeah,
He had to
He had to
leave.
leave because he was crying.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
got too emotional.
In my book, it's like Jesus Christ, and then immediately below him is Elvis
Elvis,
Presley.
hey,
Yeah,
I mean,
Elvis Aaron Presley.
Elvis did God's work. I mean,
He
his
did.
Music was.
Oh.
I mean, all his like.
We could spend the rest of the day
Oh,
talking
boy.
about Elvis Presley. I'm a big Elvis guy.
Sorry
But the
about
reason
that.
I
Took us off
asked
that tangent.
was, from what I understand, like you started out selling T-shirts here. Is it surreal to have seen this? Because at various times there's been rumors the place is going to close down or whatever. Is it crazy, surreal, surprising at all? I mean, we talked about this a little bit on Monday night. It was never like on Christie's career path or your vision board
No,
to run a drag strip,
Yeah.
right? Is it crazy to be here now?
it is. I mean, it's bizarre in some ways when I think back, but then it's not at the same
Right.
time. I mean, my whole life was here. I mean, the relationships, the people. They've seen me grow up. I've seen them just love my parents well. And so in some ways it makes sense. I mean, it does make sense, perfect sense. But, I was going to be a teacher. I went to school. I have a home economics degree. I was teaching nutrition and child development in high school. I was a cheerleading coach for years. And I just decided I didn't want to be in the classroom anymore. And my dad was like, hey, you want to learn one of the businesses? Because my brother took over my dad's restoration and construction business in Waco. So he's been doing that after he retired from being a professional golfer. So, I was like, sure, why not? I mean, I always loved the races. I was like, why not? So he put me in the souvenir stand. I mean, I did study merchandising, so that helped a little bit, just when it came to like
knowing the nuances,
and, things like that. But I started out just selling the t-shirts. I mean, I got to help design the stuff, but I was the one in there selling people t-shirts.
How much do you think that experience of being in the souvenir shack and moving up into ticketing and moving through the kind of chain of command at a racetrack or a facility like this that kind of goes far beyond just being a racetrack? And this is like a true multi-purpose facility. I mean, you guys will do whatever anybody wants to do, right? How valuable do you think those early expenses? Sure, there's some like kids spraying water in a water box somewhere, like hating their life,
no joke.
or serving up the next order of nitro nachos, kind of wondering if this is worth it. Was it worth it?
Oh, for sure. I mean, just to be able to experience that side and see what the fans want, to be able to, just know how it worked out there, just to watch and just be observant, and also just to work my way up to where I actually have experience. Obviously, I know that I'm blessed and that this is not normal, and people don't always get the experience to do what I get to do and walk in my dad's footsteps and his legacy. But I don't take it for granted because I had to work my way here. But also, I'm just grateful my dad made me do that. I mean, because he gave me valuable things, by doing it that way.
Have you ever talked to Brittany Force about this? Because that sounds like a similar
she
path.
Was a teacher.
Yeah, she was a teacher, kind of was going to go her own path. She ended up kind of back in the drag racing vortex via her father.
We've never talked about it, but it's very similar. You're right.
Yep.
Did you feel almost like at any point that you had to go your own way? Like, because you didn't want to, like, because you mentioned being blessed, and I think we all are, to be above ground and be Americans. We're blessed. But was there a moment that you thought, no way, I'm not going to follow I'm not going to go into the family business? I mean,
well, it's funny because we never talked about it. Like
Really?
growing up, it was never like, hey, you could do this one day. I mean, he did not want us to race. He wanted us to be able to find our own way. And if we did, I'm sure he would have supported us. But my brother, neither one of us were interested. My brother rodeoed and played golf. And I was a typical kid, cheerleading and played softball. And so he let us have our own things. And he was so supportive of us. That's why he retired from racing, so he could raise us and be home with us. And then obviously we spent a lot of time up here. So it's funny because I look back and it was never like, hey, if you want to do this, let me know,
Wow.
Until that one day I sat in his office and I remember kind of I was like 22. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, And I was like, should I go back to grad school? Should I and he was like, well, I mean, we have an opportunity if you want to try. And I was like, okay. I mean, so at that time, Glenn Menard was our interim GM, and he was the first GM when the track opened and came back and was our interim GM. And so dad just said, here, go work for Glenn, which was great because it's obviously I love working with my dad, but it's great to have other bosses and answer to them. And I've had great mentors over the time. Eland's been one. Gabrielle Stevenson was a great mentor. It's been awesome to have these people just walk alongside me and teach me the business along with my dad.
It's an incredible story, and I'm glad that we got it out of you, because it's not typical. And I think a lot of times people think that, it's born with a silver spoon in your mouth or whatever, but it's like to see you choose to fight that battle. And then what I have seen, Christy, if I've seen anything over the course of the last couple of years, getting to know you, and this week and last year, this week, is the respect people have for you. And it's because they watched you sell a t-shirt and get yelled at by somebody or fight those battles. Right. So
you almost have to start there and work your way up, or you don't get the respect from everybody.
Exactly. And that's why I'm so appreciative, because I know this, like I said, it's not normal, and it's an honor to do this and to just learn from people. And I mean, I am just so grateful that, my dad didn't rush me into it, that he, and my grandfather was the same with him. He made them work at his businesses and learn the business before they could go and do anything. And I mean, I wouldn't trade it. I mean, the experiences, the wisdom. It's been great.
What's your favorite part of all of this? Like, is there a part of it, not necessarily like organizing the event,
Yeah.
but is there, I mean, maybe so, like, is there a part of this that happens during the week, the country music, the lantern release, the messing around with a gazillion nitro cars Monday night, a low key day like this that you never get to have at an NHRA international event? Is there a part of it that you especially enjoy?
That's hard. I mean, the part that I enjoy the most is the adrenaline rush, which is not even like it's just the whole week.
Yeah.
The whole 10 days.
It's not really associated with the racing.
No,
it's
it's just that like, we've planned this. Can we execute? It's that like, I can, it's just intense and I
love it.
Love it. Yeah, exactly. It's addicting. But I mean, for overall, I mean, I love Sunday morning. I love pre-race ceremonies. I love that, especially how we set it up last year with the Stampede of Speed, bringing the drivers out for intros and some of the special things we did. I love the production side of it and just making sure everything hits, like skydiver, flyover, all that, we were working on that yesterday, and it's just minute by minute. Are we going to pull it off? That kind of thing. I like the pressure. I work well under pressure. But I also, the new thing I really love is that music festival. It's magical. I mean, to have the lanterns released and to, just see people enjoying themselves. I mean, like y'all talked about it.
Yeah, I want to hear you tell us how this came to be, because I know where she's going. How did this whole concept of get cooked up of having a country music concert, and while they're, swapping out gear and changing sets, let's get a couple of fuel cars over here. How did that all come to be?
Well, so last year we had the music festival,
right.
And we partnered with Nightlights, which is they actually come and have another event here every year. And so we decided to partner with them because they've never done anything with a music festival. So they brought the lanterns, we brought the music, and we did that last year. It was a success. It was awesome. We did the bull riding last year. And this year we were like, okay, what, we want to do something that worked. So we want to keep that, but we want to add more to it. The whole purpose of this is drag racing. Everything we do leading up to the Fall Nationals
is feeding that
is to promote the Fall Nationals. Yeah. So we were like, we need to race every day. I mean, everybody that comes out here, whether they're coming for a country concert, whether they're coming for the bull riding, they need to see drag racing because that's what this is all about.
Yes.
So we just, I mean, with Funny Car Chaos being here, we had guys here already, obviously, and Scott Palmer, y'all talked about Scott. I mean, I don't need to say anything else. Scott is like, he is our biggest cheerleader. He is our biggest help. I mean, he will do anything and everything, or, I mean, he's so incredible to work with. And so he was like, absolutely, let's pull this off. And Chris Graves with Funny Car Chaos helped us. And so we were like, okay, how is this? I mean, I was so worried it wouldn't translate. Like, I was so worried people would be over there and be like, what the heck
what is going
on?
Like,
yeah. And so we promoted it. We called it the Racing Roundup to follow that stampede, And so, I mean, on that poster, it's ridiculous. It's like bull riding, beer expo.
You scroll for a half hour on the website. Yeah. It's like, okay, what?
Yeah, okay. And it's all in one day. So it just executing it all. I was so worried about that, and we were throwing from Joe Costell on the starting line to our production manager, Laney Newman, on the stage. He's our DJ that y'all see, down here for
awesome.
Events. He is. So they were throwing back and forth, and I was like, how is that going to work? We've never done anything like that before with the camera, and it just
it worked
without a hitch, and people were flocking. I mean, and the Nightlights brings a whole new crowd to drag racing. The people that come for that concert, obviously we have country music fans, and some of them are aware of drag racing, some aren't. But we had this whole new influx of people coming for just that lantern release, and so diverse. I mean, I've never seen such diversity on this facility, which was amazing. That's what I want. We want this to be a family-friendly environment that people can come and forget about the cares of the world, and they can just like celebrate drag racing in Texas, So that's my goal in all this. And people were running, like, where are the cars? Where are the cars? And I was like, oh, over here. And they just sat there. I mean, it looked like you said, Friday night, I think I showed you a picture. Yeah. Friday night qualifying round. And then they just sat there. And we're like, well, the next two pair aren't going to come until, an hour. And they just sat there and waited and listened to the music.
That's
People
awesome.
were camping underneath the grandstands, like laying blankets out. I was like, we were all like, what is happening? Like, I can't. But watching the people with the jet cars, because the last pair that ran down were the jet cars. We had
which jet car, we need to send out a public service announcement that I don't think jet car racers get the credit they deserve, right? Because a lot of hardcore traditional racers kind of bag on them, and they're the end of the night and whatnot. But the impact that they have on the casual passerby,
for sure.
Be like, wait, you got a car over there with wheels and a jet engine? Yeah. I mean, so was the reaction huge, cheering?
Huge. Absolutely. I mean, I was on the stage actually at the time, the second pair going off, being interviewed in between. And people were standing, the ones that didn't come to watch were standing over there, like filming the screen because they could watch the race, and then you could see the smoke coming up over the grandstands. And then as soon as it was over, people just took off running for the concert and they'd save their spots, But we realized quickly, we can have a drag race and a music festival at the same time.
And that's awesome.
And we can build way more on that. We only ran 3 pair of cars, but we could easily expand. And so, our goal next year, we already have ideas. We already have plans. Things are going to just continue to grow.
It's an awesome thing that you have going here, Christy. And
that's outside the box.
That
We've seen concerts at a drag race,
right?
And you almost feel like you're going to pull more fans or a different crowd that wants to come see that, but be immersed in a drag race. But we've never seen drag racing going on during a concert.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a unique concept.
Yeah. So we've tried all kinds of things over the years. We've done the concert after the race, and everybody just leaves because they're tired. It's a long day. You know. So we were just trying to figure out how can we make this work. And it was just one of those you got to toss it up in there and see where it lands.
What's your biggest obstacle with throwing an event this size and then going straight from this event to another big event? You gotta get everybody out of here and then new racers in. And
logistics. It's just making sure the parts are moving like a well-oiled machine. Obviously things drop. When you have this many things going on at once, there's been things that have dropped, but just knowing that we just keep moving and we pivot. And I don't know if y'all are friends. Yeah. We all watch Friends, the whole pivot scene, but pivot, but we pivot and then we work together and obviously we all have different positions, but we all it doesn't matter what, my job is. If I need to help pick up the trash, I'm going to pick up the trash, So for us, it's just knowing each other well, communicating, just logistics of making sure.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot at DI, that everybody can kind of pick up wherever and that, we're all basically firefighters. Wherever you're needed, you just go.
Exactly.
You go
I joke that you have to hire folks that are Swiss Army knives because I think that we went through an era of business was booming and it was a high tide and you could afford and justify specialists.
Right.
You hired a guy and his only responsibility was to do this. Yeah. But that time has came and went. Right. At this point in time, you better be completely comfortable wearing a lot of hats if you want to be, in my opinion.
Lean and mean. Lean staff that can do a lot of different things.
Yeah. Our motto here is anything, everything, or nothing at all. So if you aren't willing to take on that motto, it won't work, because we all, half the time you'll see me picking weeds. That's my biggest pet peeve. So half the time people are like, what are you doing? I don't want to weed. I'm standing here. I can do it before I call somebody over here to do it for me. So that's the thing is we work together. We're a great team. And, some of the people on the team have been here 20 years. Some of the people, it is incredible the relationships we've built with our team and with, the community. So, I just am excited and fortunate.
Whenever I rolled out on Monday night, I was leaving. It was probably midnight almost whenever we were leaving. And there was already another crew or a group that was clocking in or probably to start cleaning up.
Right.
I saw people already starting the rinse and repeat process to prepare for Tuesday. So it's an incredible thing that you have going here, Christy. We're very happy for you, proud of you, and really can't wait to see what comes next.
Yeah,
so
we appreciate it.
We'll be here for it. You can count on it.
Yeah.
All right.
4 more days. So
4 more days.
I know.
We ain't going anywhere. And I was gonna pin you down. We need to keep this sweet. If nobody's in it, I'm gonna do it right here on the World Wide Web. If no one's using it, Drag Illustrated wants it. So
he's gonna guilt you into it.
Y'all are always welcome, and we always appreciate what y'all do for us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We'll see
thanks for having us
here in a minute. All right. Thank you. Oh my God. Oh, you're good. Holy moly. Well, she's a good interview.
Yeah.
No doubt about it, man.
We need to do that more frequently.
We got a pro mod out here on the starting line.
I don't recognize this
either.
car.
I'm trying to see what it says on the door.
I'm not sure.
I see Brandon Pez out there.
Yeah, I see Brandon Pez pulling him into and that might have been, I can't tell who that is in front of the car. I thought it was Justin Jones, but I don't think it is. Okay. He would likely have pressed jeans and boots on, if I had to guess. We've got, looks like we're giving the go-ahead to send it. Is this car entered in Pro Mod?
Is this the new name that we saw on there? Okay. Peddled it.
Okay,
Got it all the way
peddler
down
down there. Well, I tell you what, though, this is exactly what the NHRA was asking for or looking for, in my opinion, because this is proof positive of like a local guy, a regional racer showing up.
I think it's
and
one of
being
the
a
rare
part of the deal.
times that we've seen that this year. We've seen less of that, I feel like, in recent years than we used to see. And I know that is something that by backing off of the safety rules and trying to make it more accessible that the NHRA is going for. So good to see it working to some degree here.
Yeah, I agree. Does anybody know where my script reads went? Did I drop them on the ground or did I? Oh, they're behind my back. Thanks, Brett. Brett.
Brett's like our
win.
dad.
Yeah,
It's like our dad.
Yeah, he keeps us.
Dad
keeps
is
us in
helping us
line.
out. It's
Yeah.
okay. Because right after this top alcohol funny car gets down through there, I want to tell you why we're here. 1 second. Moduline top alcohol funny car.
My voice is still a little raspy from
The Chiefs game.
Monday Night Football. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our friends at Stroud Safety. Stroud Safety is known for their top quality racing safety equipment, from drag chutes and seat belts to fire suits, gloves and blankets. I wore one Monday night. All 100% made in America. Log on to StroudSafety.com and make sure you tell them we sent you. Guys, how about Tommy Cunningham, though? Tommy Cunningham, 365, 200 and change, career best at the Throwdown at T-Town this past weekend in Tulsa.
And let you borrow his suit.
And literally
And
overnighted
you
me
weren't
his
just
fire
wearing
suit.
a Stroud suit. You were wearing the boss man.
The
I was
man's.
wearing Tommy
The
Cunningham's
man's.
suit. I sent him a text and I said, "Hey man, I'm gonna be that guy. I need a favor. I need a fire suit because I got a car I can drive." And he goes, "Yeah, I'll just send you mine." And I'm like, "Well, I think I'm a little thicker than you." And he goes, "Oh no, it'll fit." And he goes, "Do you mind that it says Tommy on it?" I'm like, "No, send it." You know, and sure enough, I drove a mid 5-second 8th mile car wearing an SFI 20 layer fire suit, but that's okay because, hold on. Because I did feel safe, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man,
and it's
you had
like
it covered. You had it
well,
covered with the 20.
I kind of felt like it's our responsibility to kind of like set an example,
Did you
and I
have,
didn't
like,
want
a-
to show up wearing like
That's
flip flops.
how I live my life.
Did you have the boot guards and all that? Like you have
I
to
know.
wear for the
No,
alcohol?
I didn't wear
stuff?
boots. He offered to send them. He's like, "Do I need to send you boots?" And I'm like, "If I get in this thing wearing top
Looking like
alcohol
John
funny
Force.
car boots, I will never ever live it down." So I forwent the boot offer, but otherwise, man, it was really much appreciated. Thank you, Tommy, Anita. They did have a big weekend. I'm sure Mama Sue might be watching, but they had a huge weekend. Career
did.
best, win a few rounds. And kind of turn the corner. You know, Tommy's a really humble guy that won't give himself credit even when he deserves it. But they've had a little bit of a rough year just trying to make some changes to the program. And it would seem to me, and I think whenever we get our next guest on here, the one and only Lyle Barnett, we will talk about it. It's like you can make jumps in your program pretty quickly. You know, like you can go from a 6.0 8th mile car to a 550 car, and it happens fast. From 5.0 to 450, let's say from 5.0 to 450 it happens pretty fast. But the faster you get, the fewer and further those leaps are, you know? And I think Tommy had reached a point where they were very comfortable in that 370. Hey, we can run 370 anywhere all the time, but consistently getting into the 360s is a whole other thing. And then getting into from 369 to 367 and to the 365. And it's just
And
inch
doing
by
it
inch.
repeatedly,
Yes.
consistently, and going rounds. That's the tough part.
Yeah, they switched over to a new EFI system, went coil on plug, so made some wholesale changes to the program. But I think it's we're not too far away from seeing everybody, I think, go that route. It's kind of feels to some extent long overdue. It's one of those things that we in drag racing are creatures of habit. This is the way we've always done it. But it is cool to see more and more technology invading our sport, especially fast door slammer drag racing. And while we're on the subject of fast door slammer drag racing, let's get to the party animal
Ladies
himself in
and
here.
gentlemen, boys and girls, children
Ladies
of
and
all
gentlemen,
ages.
the one, the only Lyle Barnett. What's up, big dog?
man?
Let's make
What's
sure
up,
this
Lyle?
thing's
Hey,
turned
look at
on.
this shirt this guy's wearing. 00 shit show. This right here makes us exempt from all 00 shit show memes in the future.
Yes,
No,
let's
it
hope.
doesn't.
We're good. We're good.
My God, it does not.
I was hoping it would, though.
Nobody's safe from them.
I texted him before I got on and said you should probably tune in today.
Oh yeah.
Oh, rocking.
Yeah, I did.
I got to tell you, nobody does a better job of selling. Oh wait, Coil Unplugged, not EFI, says Larry Cunningham. I'm very sorry. That maybe will come next. Who knows? But Coil Unplugged. But nobody does a better job of selling thongs than 00 shit
100%
show.
agree
It's
with that.
unbelievable.
How do they keep all these girls like their faces disclosed? Do you think they go on some black market website somewhere where it's like, hey, this is such and such, or this is?
Have you seen what I'm talking about? It's
Yeah.
Just
unbelievable.
put this on and send us a
Yeah,
pic.
probably just Photoshop
I
it
bet-
on there. don't
yeah,
they?
It's probably a pretty good market to sell who it is.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who that is. $20.
It makes me super uncomfortable because like I'll pull up my Facebook and it's like, whoa, I wasn't ready for that.
Scroll
Like,
up fast.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
scroll-
just hope that it lists it and looking
Yeah.
over your shoulder.
Yeah.
Like, what are you looking
What are we
well,
doing?
well,
it's a
well.
drag racing Facebook page.
I always feel the need to floss after.
that ain't no joke. Oh, it's but man, you got to give those guys credit because drag racing, there are some of the stuff that happens on that page that I kind of cringe, just being honest. But I'm a father of 2, happily married, like I'm
really sensitive.
I'm very sensitive, but drag racing needs some of that transparency.
agree.
You
Yeah,
know,
we
it
do.
needs. I mean, look at like Barstool.
Oh,
What
yeah.
Barstool Sports has done for
You have
stick and ball
to
sports.
be able to make fun of yourself. You
Yes.
have to be able to
Well,
see
and
that
take
side of it.
If
Yeah.
somebody else makes fun of you, which I think I'll dive into this real quick. Street Outlaws are terrible about this. Their drivers are awful. They can, that new scale. You've got F around and find out. And it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's like a 10 for a 10. Like they love to F around, but they don't want it to go anywhere past 1. They're definitely scared that it goes out to 10, and when you find out, and I think they're terrible at that. They cannot take it. And
I think our whole sport, to be honest, kind of suffers from that at times.
I
Like
think so.
I've joked before that drag racing is like super cliquey. It's like a high school hallway. You got the jocks and you got the kind of smart, geeky nerd kids, and then and everything in between, right? And it's tough because everybody wants to wave their flag and beat their chest about what they're doing. And we even had a little bit of it on the show last week. Like Keith Haney, it was so funny. We spent a half hour celebrating Daniel Ferris's big NHRA win and this huge successful moment for him. And Keith comes on and it's immediately, well, Midwest is better. And I'm like, I get it, but we all are so up in arms about wherever we're from and what circle we exist in. And I got to tell you,
the
man,
pro
like,
mod guys are doing good right now.
Yeah.
They're shooting it back.
yeah,
and
and
forth.
they're
And
playing
even,
the game.
and even some of
even there, the circle's small.
yeah. And
Like, I kind of
you're seeing
branched
some of it in
out.
the Top Fuel and ranks as well. And
But it's
everybody's
I
kinda
don't like this
joking
like
around a
the
little bit.
comparative
I like it though.
the comparative posts though, like here's the grandstands at a No Prep Kings event and here's the grandstands at an NHRA event. Guys, it's all good.
Right.
Like
Well,
people are going
it's-
to drag races.
It's back to 00 shit show. We made a graphic that showed the top 10 winningest drivers in NHRA history. Failed to put in there pro, and then they went and made it. This is the actual real list, and then intersperse the sportsman drivers. It's like we get it, and we're here for that. But it's like, come on, guys, let the pro guys have it. Let the sportsman guys have their.
We don't have to make everything
Yeah.
so confrontational, and because you're right. It's so easy for everybody to like say that you need to have thick skin until it's time to have thick skin. And it's like, hey, you can't pick on us all the time and then get up in arms ready to fight when we fight back or pick back. I mean, you're right, JT, the NHRA Pro Mod circle, which you mentioned at this moment, unfortunately is kind of small, but everybody's willing to play the game a little bit.
Well, I was really referring to the drivers that are willing to play the game.
Yeah.
Like I kind of picked here and there, and I figured out there's like 2 that are pretty good at it. JR is pretty
JR
good at
and
it.
Stevie.
Stevie's
Yeah.
really good at
Yeah.
it, And I told him, I said, look, we'll just go back and forth. It's fine. I don't take any offense. Y'all don't take any offense. It's good for us. It's good for everybody. So we just, we kind of bounce it off each other. I picked on Ricky for a little bit, but that man still has a flip phone, I'm fairly certain. So not very good at the rebuttals.
Well, and it's, Donald Long, I think going back to like Donald in the radial tire revolution, people used to, really bag on him and think that everything he was saying was, oh my God, did you hear what he said about so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so? It's like, listen, very little of that happens without like prior knowledge or everybody being in on the joke.
Yeah, the whole slick tire versus
like the whole
radial
slick
deal.
tire versus radial deal. It's not that he doesn't mean what he's saying. He means it, but he doesn't mean like he's not like spitting in anyone's face. He's just trying to create controversy and keep people talking, because if we all just walk around, arm in arm singing Kumbaya, it gets pretty boring pretty quickly. And I think that honestly, the station drag racing found itself in as a sport, Brett, in the early, like late 2000s, maybe, when it was kind of getting vanilla, and the rivalries were, kind of dissipating. It was because we were all just like playing the corporate game. Nobody wanted to upset anybody. The stakes were pretty high.
Mega teams.
And
that's a big thing we've seen in the fuel ranks.
More and more like NASCAR every day.
Yeah. And we have to resist that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
my dad hates that I'm pretty vocal, and like I like to F around a lot and don't really care where the find out falls, and he hates it. He's always like, man, I know you're on the show today. I'm surprised I didn't get a text. Stay humble. Stay humble.
Stay humble.
Dude,
stay humble, pony boy.
You guys are opposite. Totally opposite.
100%.
He's like the quiet
he
Southern gentleman, Mr. As polite as the day is long. And I don't know if I can say the same.
No, you absolutely. And I don't. That's fine.
I think we're going to start calling you. I think we're going to start calling you Pony Boy. Isn't that Stay Humble, Pony Boy? Isn't that off The Outsiders?
Oh, it might. Yeah. It may be.
You lost me there.
Yeah. That reference is from your age category.
Yeah, it must be.
Gosh.
People born in the 70s would understand that.
People born in the 70s.
Oh man.
How old is your dad?
53.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Oh my God, that makes
close.
me feel
You're close,
old.
Steve.
8 years. Yeah.
Born in 69, baby.
No joke. He's only 53. Man, I was hoping he'd be older than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping he'd be older than that.
No.
Not like
Good
hoping
genetics.
it, but
Great.
great genetics. Oh my
I
God.
still feel like I'm a kid though when I'm around half these people. I was telling Mike that on the
You
way to
act
the
like
racetrack.
You
Right,
act
yeah,
like
sure,
a
I
kid.
act like
I
it,
mean,
yeah.
you keep that part going. But,
100%.
Do you think that I did, but to kind of take this conversation to the next location is I do feel a little concerned though, because, and I said this to you, that, and I'm not trying to get anybody pissed off, but I do think that it's not really your responsibility as the racer to promote the series, right? I mean, I think that it's great when you're a willing participant. That's fantastic. But I say this all the time, that Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant never would have been what they were if it wasn't for Vince McMahon. Like, you have to have a circus master. You have to have a promoter. And I think that that's maybe what some of these drag racing circles lack, is that it's great when you've got you and J.R. Gray and Stevie Jackson, all these guys that are willing to play the game. But you kind of have to have somebody that's stirring the pot and has a vision. Like, hey, here's where this, like Vince McMahon, if he's going to have The Undertaker and John Cena have a rivalry, it's going somewhere, right? Like, hey, we're going to have these two fight, and The Undertaker's going to lose in a controversial decision, or he's going to get counted out,
things that maybe,
and it's going to open the door for someone else, right? I mean,
because at some point, like, it's not your job. And then say you have something, in your personal life come up, and then you get busy doing this, and then, well, that can go to the back burner. So how long can you keep it up, of promoting it yourself?
When also you have to be kind of told you're going to be the heel. You're going to lose this match, or you're going to lose this race, or whatever the case may be. Or someone has to be okay pissing someone else off and being the heel. I feel like everyone kind of wants to be the heel, but they want to be the face and don't want to piss everybody off.
Are you familiar with that terminology, the pro wrestling terminology of babyface and heels?
I mean,
so babyface is white hats is the good guy, and the heels are the black hats and the bad guys. And it's like in pro wrestling, and I think that there's so many lessons to be learned from pro wrestling. Now, they don't do everything right, but I mean, you can't argue with $1 billion enterprise. And they are very good about taking a babyface, and over the course of time, taking a babyface, someone like Hulk Hogan, right, who's like the ultimate babyface, right, living the American dream and the real American hero, and then over the course of time, they go, hey, there's a moment here, there's an opportunity where we can make you the bad guy, and we're going to take that yellow shirt off and put a black one on you, and we're going to make you the enemy, but everybody's got to be comfortable in those roles, and I think that that's what drag racing, I think that's why we see Sam Cork. I mean, people speak about Sam Corcus from Discovery Channel and Pilgrim Studios, the mastermind behind Street Outlaws and No Prep Kings. I mean, he's like a religious figure. Right. I mean, he's probably the only person in drag racing right now, that can be talked about with one name. Like, if you say Sam in any drag racing conversation, people know who you're talking about. right? And I don't think that exists in many other walks of our sport. I mean, maybe Donald, people know if you say JT, Wes, obviously, duh. But no, but I mean, it's kind of crazy the brand that this guy has built for himself.
He's turned a lot of people into stars.
Yeah.
He has, but it's because there's an end goal. Like there's a vision. There's a hey. I mean, look at what all the controversy about not letting Manny Bajinga into No Prep Kings, and it's because he doesn't have a storyline. Like it doesn't work in the story right now. Right. Like we've already got like a wealthy businessman, like in John Odom. Like that role's kind of filled right now. So I just think that it takes some real balls and also some vision to be willing to tell someone no. Does it make sense? Oh, yeah. And I feel NHRA could use some of that. Not that we want to turn this into some scripted, adult, choreography, blah, 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 whatever. But I do think some of that like vision,
a bigger picture,
that
it may not benefit you right now, but if everybody buys in and is swimming in the same direction, that it's going to take the sport or your class or whatever to another level. And I think you probably among all of the NHRA Pro Mod drivers are kind of willing to play that heel 100%. Role by stirring shit up with the memes and everything. And just, even if you know that this may piss that person off, you're going to do it anyway. And,
but you're way too likable.
Right.
Like everybody loves Lyle, so I feel like somebody needs to like say, hey, we've got a real sweetheart. We've got an American, a young guy that's overcome tragedy, come back from the brink. It's hard to make you a bad guy. It's hard to make you a shit stirrer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Lyle,
you're a hero.
Your dad is at MacFab headquarters right now, and he's working on business cards and wants to know your title.
Job title.
I mean, should we just come up with one?
Let me take another drink before I answer this.
Wes likes making job titles.
I love job titles.
CEO.
Okay, Pops. President and CEO.
That's not really what I wanted to say, but that'll work.
That'll work.
I'll text you.
I'm big on like VP, business development.
Everybody's a VP.
In reality, I'm VP at best. My dad should absolutely be president and CEO and
tell him you want some cards for PRI that say president and CEO, but then you want another batch of cards to like hand out at the racetrack that say like treasurer.
Yeah.
Or like something that no one's gonna call. Yeah.
Honorable mention.
Hey,
honorable mention.
We got a comment in here from Captain Lucky 23. Is Lyle happy he doesn't have to worry about getting outrun by Ricky?
Ouch.
No. Man, I did not want to go here.
Oh, I know.
We would
Here we go.
This conversation altogether.
Here we go.
No, man, I think he's
gonna cut his first promo right here.
I think it's a tragedy that Ricky's not here. I think that for the betterment of the class, and you're talking about a dude that has a real chance at winning the championship.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that thing just ran like 5 minutes ago, but
he did.
I think it's a tragedy that Ricky's not here. God, I did not want to go here, but
he's not. Well, he texts me. Brett's asking why Brett Underwood, our VP of Sales and Business Development here at Drag Illustrated.
That's only half his title.
That's only half the title. He has a double-sided business
Dad,
card.
you'd have like a hero card for Brett's.
But Brett asked the question, for those that don't know, that it was a huge, big news story, in my opinion, that Ricky Smith withdrew from the NHRA Fall Nationals here at the Texas Motorplex. And I was initially worried because I know everybody loves to hate Ricky, but I like Ricky. I mean, Ricky and I have known him for a long time. He's been on the cover of the magazine, 2 times? I mean, he's an icon. He's a legend. I've argued that he's the greatest of all time when it comes to door slammer racers, and I stand by it. But I was worried that he was sick or something. So I shot him a text like, hey, man, everything okay? You good? You healthy? Mom all right? His wife. And he goes, oh, thanks for checking, but I'm just tired of racing from behind, and they want an all-blower show. By God, they're going to have one. And I thought, hey, man, I get it. I mean, I understand I'm trying to be respectful. I mean, I appreciate his perspective, but I'm with you that I do think that, is this the end of Ricky Smith? I mean, he's been talking all year long about retiring, and I know we've heard that before, but from what I understand, he's already sold equipment. I mean, I just would hate to see the NHRA Midwest Nationals in St. Louis in a kind of unceremonious first-round exit, be the end of Tricky Ricky Smith. But maybe that's what we're seeing.
Possibly. I mean, if anybody's raced from behind all year long, it's me. And I've done it willingly, you know, and Lonnie Grimm knows it. Ned Wallister knows it. But I take it for what it's worth. I show up every race. We're in the top. Hopefully, it looks like I'll probably finish in the top 5. If I have a really good weekend, which, you know, we won this damn thing last year, and I felt more pressure coming here than I have anywhere. This is the first time I've returned to a track that I've won at.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel more pressure coming here. I feel like we've got a car that can win. Mathematically, I can't win the championship, right? But I'm here to screw it up for somebody. And if it's Chris Thorne and I get him first round, I can promise you he doesn't want me sitting over there.
Do you think the conditions are going to play into your combination compared to
in the daytime? Yeah. You know, like it's abnormally warm here, I think.
Yeah, it is
100%.
And
yes, it's going to get cool at night, you know, but like Chris has been running pretty good today. I've been keeping tabs.
Mm-hmm.
But the track's stupid good, and this isn't what we're going to be racing on, you know. So I think it's kind of going to be go back to square one when it comes Q1. But I stopped by Stevie's trailer before I came in here, and I said, dude, I'm here to screw it up. And if it's for you, I'm going to screw it up for you. Like, they're going to earn it, you know.
Yeah.
And on back to the Ricky thing, like, he had a legitimate shot at winning the championship, and it pays $20,000 to finish second. Like, I'd have come here and ran bad from, what does he always say, 3 or 4 hundredths? Run from 3 or 4 hundredths behind, you know, and won $20,000. Like, and if mathematically speaking, I could get there. Chris and Stevie would have to go out first round and I'd have to win, but that is a possibility, you know, like 100%. I mean, I won this thing from the 12 spot last year.
Yep.
And, you know, like anything can happen. So he could have showed, I mean, I hope he's, you know, I hope he's not done. I said it in a couple of interviews earlier this year that maybe the best thing for him to do was to retire. We've since made up. Ricky, I love you. But I hope he's not done. He claims he is. You know, you don't never know if Ricky can find some money. I about guarantee you he'll burn in Gainesville, you know, but I hate he's not here, man. I think it sucks because it took a little bit of weight and a little bit of pressure off of Chris Thorne. And I'm not saying Chris doesn't perform well under pressure, but he hasn't raced good lately. And I think that it was there for the taking if Ricky could have came here and had his stuff together and ran well. But, you know,
do you think Ricky is playing a longer game here and maybe sort of launching a protest for next year by not being here and saving any money and expenses? What I'm saying is maybe this is a little bit of a hint that he's going to be back next year.
He surely wouldn't go out like this, right?
I mean, I just think a guy like Ricky that is in that conversation. I mean, if we wanted to have like a deep debate on who's the best door slammer drag racers of all time across the board, he's in that conversation. I mean, I mean, throw them all in there. Bob Glidden, throw them all in there. Warren Johnson. I think he's in the argument. I mean, I think he's in that conversation, and I would hate to see this be the end. I mean, I would hate to see a withdrawal from the last race of the season be the end, because I think personally he deserves better than that. I mean, they named a grandstand after him in Bristol. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is a guy that has a huge footprint out here, and it's crazy because we pay close attention to like how things are trending on social and on our website trap, and he's a needle mover. I mean, there are in pro mod, and this is me being 100% candid, I would say that the biggest needle mover in organized pro mod drag racing is Stevie Jackson, and he is followed immediately by Ricky Smith. I mean, like if we run a story on Ricky Smith, and I'm not, this is no shot at anybody.
Lyle has to be right there.
You're probably third, fourth. You know what I mean? I mean, I would say you're third right now. You know,
Ricky's raced for so long and raced good for so long, and you build that fan base by being consistent and showing up to all these races for all these years.
And people love to hate him. If you're polarizing, I'd say Stevie, Ricky are both polarizing. Maybe you even to a degree, even though I'd say you're much more of a fan favorite. But anybody that people love to hate or pick apart is a needle mover.
It's the Howard Stern model. Like if 50% of the people hate you and 50% of the people love you, you're winning because 100% of the people are talking about you, you know? And I think that Ricky has kind of has been that guy for a long time. But my question, I guess, that kind of follow that up, and this, I mean, I'm curious what you think, Mike, is what this brings to the forefront is, can a nitrous car run out here? Like and obviously I don't have one, and I'm not working on one between rounds, but he's way over. Okay, he's pulling her back to the middle there. Okay, I was concerned for a second. But can a nitrous car be competitive out here?
Yeah. I mean, Ricky proved that all year long. He
agree.
went to like 5 of the first 5 finals or something crazy.
Yeah, and qualified pretty well. We had some stats for last week's show when we were going to talk about this that Josh Hatchett provided us. And, the numbers are pretty solid for Ricky. But we talked about this last week. Ricky is probably so far head and shoulders above anybody else that could jump in a nitrous car as far as being competitive and running those numbers, that it's not an accurate representation of how the average racer would perform with that combination. So he kind of skews the curve a little bit, in my opinion, with all of his experience. But it's also extremely expensive to run a nitrous car, and especially if you hurt them and if you're running them on the ragged edge.
And he does it as cheap as possible.
Yeah, and Ricky's not going to hurt
but
his
he
stuff.
has to.
Yeah,
right. But I think that Ricky Smith as a crew chief and Tyler Miller as a driver full time next year, you're talking about a real potential at a championship. Like, there's no doubt in my mind, or I know he can. Tyler and I are friends. I love the Miller family like they're my own. Tyler's a driver. And I think that Ricky's does really, I'll be belting in on a 3rd pair back, right? And Ricky's like 2 pair behind me, and I'll be belts on everything but my helmet. And here comes Ricky waddling by in his fire pants and a shirt and his sunglasses and his heat gun. And he's every time, right? And he's 2 pair behind me, and I think if he could concentrate one way or the other, but I know he can't, like as Ricky Smith, if he's driving the car, he has to read the track himself. He has to make the decisions himself. And then he goes and gets in the car. And the 2 pair that run before him, when he loses that, very rarely this year has that made a difference. But I think that if Ricky could focus solely on what's going on that starting line and leave the driving to somebody else, that you're talking about a team that, 100% could win a championship.
Well, anyone that's had success in recent years in NHRA Pro Mod with a nitrous combination is either Ricky or a Ricky team car, or someone that Ricky is tuning. We'd have to go back. Wes, maybe you can tell me. I don't know when
you're going back to Khaled Belushi, which was a part of the Speed
ago.
Tech camp when you've got
Bob
Brandon
Ram,
Schweitzer. But even Bob, like, God bless Bob, but not necessarily a world beater. They were out here, fighting. The cool thing that Bob Ram was doing that I thought was impressive is that he was kind of trying to chart his own course. They had a rear Morrison engine program when the other teams had a Musi program. They were just trying to go about it a little differently, which I respect. It's kind of like what built drag racing, is not just doing the cookie cutter thing, because that's another conversation we could have here today that I think is part of the reason it's so important that you're in a turbo car and that we've got the Rickies out here, because all we got to do is blink our eyes, and this could be all pro-charged Hemis or all screw-blown Hemis, all tuned by a handful of the same guys, and we're headed that direction. And so that is what, that's why I think it's worth noting what Bob Ram, Chris Bell, Brad Morgan, that group, they were trying to do their own thing, and they were resisting the urge to fall in with someone else.
And Lyle's doing that now with the turbo combination, and Justin Elks and the whole team at Modern Racing.
The last massively successful nitrous cars that competed in this series, the NHRA Pro Mod series, that weren't Ricky Smith, were Mike Castellana and Shannon Jenkins. Belushi had a blip there before he ran really well. I'm not saying it's a Belushi thing. It's just that he was running top fuel on and off, and he was doing a lot of different stuff. Oh my goodness, Clay Millican in the house. We need another mic. But it's like, no, yeah, it's all good. But it's like,
he's live.
It's been a long time since we've seen nitrous cars like really, really, really running at the front performance wise. But Ricky's got several championships in the NHRA series. He's won more races than anybody in this category. So I think he's got 19 wins in NHRA Pro Mod to his credit. The closest second is Stevie with like 11 or 12. So, it's not really close. He's far and away the winningest driver this category's ever seen. I think where I was going to head with this is naming other names. What would happen if Jim Halsey, or Dean Marinas comes to mind? What would happen if some of those guys, now granted resource, Tommy Franklin, what would those outlaw 8th mile badasses. How would that translate over here?
I think competitive, yes. Come over here and dominate, no. Like to the general public, I think it looks like if you brought a standout team, you've got Jim Halsey behind the wheel and Brandon Schweitzer doing the tuning. If you brought them over here, that they would come over here and just mop up. But dude, I'm telling you, like if Stevie Jackson can't come over here and dominate, nobody's coming over here and dominate. Period. I mean, he had Billy Stockland and doing the tuning for the most part. Stevie with some input doing the driving. Like, did they dominate some? Sure, he won 2 championships, but they didn't come over here and win
Every race.
6 out of 10,
no.
right? Or 7 out of 10. So do they come over here and be competitive? Sure. Do they win 1 or 2 their first year? Maybe. But they're not just going to come over here and dominate. It's freaking hard over here, man.
I'm wondering more about like just the nitrous platform specifically. I had this conversation with Justin Elks one time, and he said if we could get someone to come over here with a nitrous program and run the rods out of it the way so many of us do, because in that's a conversation that we can maybe have as well, because I think it's worth having, and we got Clay Millican in the house. We could have it with him as well. But like drag racing trends toward this, you got to run it till they expire. I mean, in nitro racing, we're seeing that a lot. I mean, the teams historically, at least in the last, decade or so that have been successful, brand new clutch pack after every run, brand new short block after every run, brand new blower after every run. We're going to lose T and bring in the one and only. Let's give it up, ladies and gentlemen, for the one, the only Clay Millican.
Oh my goodness!
What's up, dog? You doing well?
How much you charge to bring me a beer?
He'll do it for free. Look at this. We got a cooler full. We got.
Man, JT just knew exactly where that stuff was.
He knew exactly where it was.
Yeah,
anything.
we picked the right suite. They had this thing fully stocked when we got here.
North Carolina, but
Hey, man, that's our Missouri boy. And I'm curious because I want to get your perspective on this as well, Clay. And I want to really quick remind everybody, click like, click share, help us spread the gospel of drag racing. I've been ranting about it all day, but it really is an important thing for you guys to help us get the message out and kind of keep the drag racing conversation going in the middle of the week. One of the things we were just talking about, Clay, is how we've gotten to a point, and this is one of my favorite conversations I ever had with Big Daddy Don Garlitz. He would tell me that he had like a legit relationship with every engine that he built. Every engine that he raced, he built, and he had like a love affair with it. And he said he couldn't ever imagine the reason he doesn't race today and bowed out when he did was because he couldn't imagine being in a scenario where he had to just blow it up every time. That's kind of where we're at right now. Is that or close?
I would say there are teams that have that. Me, I've never been in that situation, but if you look at the last few races since Rick Ware bought the team, immediately our car's running better. Have we blown anything up? No. But what has happened is we have more parts in the trailer, and that frees the crew chief up to not worry about it so much if you do blow it up. No crew chief intends on going out there blowing it up, but if they do, they're just kind of like, it's part of the game. Unfortunately, it is. But the truth is, and Lyle will say this for sure, and everybody that's ever done it, typically when these things make a monster run and lay down, low ET, big speed, you can almost run the motor again.
Yeah.
It's those runs where you're trying to do that and something doesn't go right. That's when you see the big boomers. Yeah.
Do you think that like the reason I bring it up is because is that what's holding back the nitrous combination? Because you talk about Ricky, he's a one-man band with Chad Hester. So it's just the two of them. Basically, for the most part,
like Chad anymore. By the way,
they don't make them like Chad anymore. There aren't a lot of that. We talk about that a lot, and the reason we do the Drag Illustrate, we had this conversation last week. Like the Drag Illustrated 30 under 30, almost our primary goal with that is to foster crew guys. We've got to encourage them because there's a real shortage in our sport of badass real deal crew guys and gals, and someone's got to pat them on the back and encourage them to keep going because there's a real shortage.
And Chad is so critical to that deal. I think Chad is also kind of close to the end as far as wanting to be on the road and doing this. And I think that's actually playing into Rixie's decision as much as anything is that, because I even told Chad this in Charlotte, no, he's not going to replace you. He's not going to be able to find another Chad out there.
You can't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that's the reason I brought it up was just that, is that the issue that exists with the nitrous combination is that the guy that we have here doesn't have the manpower or the resources to run that combination as hard as is required at this point in time? We can have a separate conversation about is that good or bad for the sport, but do you think that's the issue? Because that's why I brought up the Halsey, Schweitzer, and some of these other guys, because if some of them showed up that had those resources and had a real 4 or 5 guy crew where they could swing a motor or put a rack in it between rounds, because that's the issue, right?
I mean, I think that, we don't call Ricky Father Time for nothing, but, I do think that in Q3, could he afford to maybe put a rack in it, maybe, a couple top rings and roll on? Sure. But can he do that between E2 and E3? Absolutely not. And I'm not, Chad is as good as they come. And like I said, they don't make them like Chad anymore. But Ricky's older, right? And Chad's not a spring chicken by any means. And for them to jerk the intake and the heads off of that thing and put a rack in it, it ain't going to happen between rounds of eliminations, So he has to be conservative. And I think that goes back to I just want to be within 2 or 3 hundredths, and I think it's there, but I think they've, we're to the point now. And I think Stevie Jackson started this movement.
I agree.
Is he came in and he said, look, boys, you're going to run with me. You're going to work on your shit, period. And I think it changed it when Stevie Jackson came here. I mean, I think it was a country club, a good old boys deal. They agreed that they would run, so fast. Maybe somebody screwed up and poked it out there a little hard one time, but they'd reel her back in and everybody kind of stayed consistent. When Stevie came, he said, nope, you're going to run them hard.
I think that's one of the best pieces of commentary we've had in a while, because that is exactly right. We talk about that. There was an era before Alanabi, right? In like, especially in door slammer racing, back then, I mean, guys were running all weekend, not even pulling the valve covers off of a nitrous engine, right? They were running it all weekend. Alanabi comes in and they've got an engine development program with rear Morrison. The next thing you know, the compression ratios go up, valve lift goes up, everything goes up. And now these are
this is all 8th mile stuff.
Then
too.
this was even 8th mile,
yeah,
right?
This was 8th mile stuff, because in the quarter mile back in those days, just due to the durability of the parts that we had, we were working on those things in quarter mile. But in 8th mile, it was different. And I think that's why everybody gravitated toward that. But then here comes Alanabi, here comes all billet everything, here comes the bigger bore
and
space.
It's like the evolution, it went up in exponentially, like it jumped up 10 years. It had been growing linearly. Right. And like things are getting a little bit better and everybody's getting a little bit better. And then a bunch of money and a bunch of really smart people come in and it does this. It goes straight up.
Well,
and I think
this falls right into what I hear y'all talking about all the time. The reason Sam and all those people over at MPK are careful about who they let in, just for that reason. When somebody shows up with money, they can show out. Plain and simple. And that's exactly what you're saying here. Stevie might not have showed up with the most money, but he showed up with enough people to get the car turned around and did not mind
the willingness to work.
And I mean, let's just go back. The hardest working guy, are known as the hardest working guy, won all the time. That's a guy named Bob Glidden. If you're willing to work, there's ET there.
Yeah.
You're
100% right. And it's like that's really been drag racing's calling card, is the guy that was willing to work all night, was willing to go test. I've told this story a bazillion times about Scotty Cannon and Carl Moyer. I remember Scotty telling me this story about calling Carl up one day on a Tuesday afternoon. He said, hey, Carl, and they were rivals in IHRA Pro Modified. Carl, what are you doing? And Carl's like, well, Scotty, I'm sitting in my office right now at Carl Chevrolet in Ankeny, Iowa, trying to sell some cars. And he goes, exactly. I'm at the drag strip testing. And that's why you will never outrun me.
Probably at Greer.
Probably at Greer.
Yeah.
And he goes, and that's why you will never outrun me, because on a Tuesday afternoon, you're at your job, you're at your business, I'm at the racetrack. And that has for a long time been the deciding factor. And I think that you're spot on, man. Stevie came in because look at the mass exodus we had in Pro Mod specifically of the kind of country club racers, because he came in and all of a sudden you've got the baddest crew guy, the baddest chassis guy, the baddest electronics guy, because most of these teams had like one guy that was kind of leading the charge with some volunteer help, and if you had a guy that was getting paid $500 a weekend, you were balling. You know what I mean? You had a badass. Most of the teams had some, weekend warrior helpers, but then here comes Stevie, and he's got Billy Stockland, Phil Schuler, You know what I mean? He's bringing an army of the best guys, hired crew guys that are working full time on this thing. The maintenance program escalated. That's a great observation, man. I think Stevie really did change quarter mile pro mod racing.
He did 100%.
Yeah.
You know, but like then you go back to what we've been asked all year long. Like, what do we want to be? What are we? Right? You know, there's all this talk, and God bless the United States of America. We should never make NHRA Pro Modified Racing 8th mile ever. Does it fix the car count problem? Yes, it does. Temporarily, I think, but it does fix it right now. But it's no longer prestigious. It's no longer the baddest, fastest quarter mile door slammers on the planet Earth. Like it loses its thunder, I think. Like, and I'll be honest,
it loses what makes it different because I think it's the last quarter mile pro mod series in the country.
And I'll be honest, like if NHRA Pro Mod goes 8th mile, I'll go to PDRA and race with my buddies. And I'm not saying that because I think that the PDRA is lesser of a sanctioning body, right? I think Tyler Crossnow is one of my best friends in the entire world. I love him to death. The Franklins are some of the best people that God's ever put on this earth, you know, and I think that they have a great thing going over there, and it is the premier 8th mile organization with the, you know, along with the Midwest Pro Mod series that exist. But it's not, you know, it's still not NHRA Pro Mod. You know, this is the professional level, and I think the NHRA Pro Mod belongs running to the 1320, and if it ever stops doing that, I'm out. You know, like this is where we belong.
And I got to say it, as the great Philadelphia-born poet Meek Mill would say, there's levels to this shit, you know? And, you know, I mean, it's true. There's levels to this shit. I mean, and it's NHRA, this is a different deal when you get over here. And I do kind of wonder sometimes, because if they did switch it to 8th mile, y'all would have that deal in the ditch, as Richard Freeman would say, probably in 3 weeks. 3 races, the cars would be running better because it's just a different competitive environment than exists anywhere else in the world. I mean, when you get this kind of fanfare, this kind of money, this kind of prestige, things get serious in a hurry. So that kind of begs the question across the board, because nitro racing we need some of the Trip Tatums, the guys to bounce in. But it's so competitive because I think we're in a weird place with Top Fuel right now as well, where you can't be a hobbyist.
No.
Right? That door has shut to some extent.
The guys that jump in and out, like Trip Tatum or whatever, it's not necessarily hobbyists doing it. If you look at the people that come and work on his car, you can take that hobby out of it.
Yeah,
those are hitters. You know, that's what I call a fly-in crew guy that's got tons of experience. Don't want to be on the road all the time anymore, but he'll come work on Trip's car. You know, you got people like that. You know, the Torrances have certainly extended their tune-up out to a lot of those kind of cars like that. And right now, I mean, I posted a YouTube video a couple weeks ago that I think this is the greatest era ever of Top Fuel racing. I had 5 races in a row. I did not smoke the tires. I did not lose on a hole shot. And if you total up all 5 of them, they equal 1/10 of a second that I lost by. 1/10.
Dude.
1/10. 5 races in a row, first round. That's how tough Top Fuel is right now. You know, I get the comments, you know, quarter mile, back to your point, you know, the Top Fuel cars can't run quarter mile anymore. That's all there is to it. They can't. And if they made it where they could, people will be mad because we're going to go slower in a quarter mile than what we're going, you know, in 1,000 feet. But the competition is by far the closest it's ever been. And I would love for somebody to prove me wrong on that, because I don't believe it. I've raced quarter mile days. That's where I started at. But typically, you know, you had one car, you know, drop some holes or something would happen. And it was car links at the finish line. I lost 2 races, one by 000. 000. That's bracket racing stuff. I lost another one by 007 in that stretch of those races. That's just how tough it is.
St. Louis was unbelievable.
Yes.
It was so good.
So good.
Do you think that it's because is that bad? Because part of me wonders, like, our sport, it's like this double-edged sword. Like, the competition's so incredible. You know, Garth Brooks and his have you watched Garth Brooks's deal on Netflix?
No, man. You know, I know very little about Garth Brooks.
Well, he does this thing. Garth's kind of weird. I don't know if you've ever watched it, but he does this thing where he goes,
Who's Garth Brooks?
Blessing, it's a curse. So anyways, but drag racing being hyper competitive like this, a little bit of a blessing and a curse, right? Because it does turn, because don't you think there are some people out there that maybe could piecemeal together a fuel deal or put the money together to rent a ride for the weekend that are going, why bother?
Well,
I'm going to get my head chopped off by Clay Millican or Justin Ashley. And why bother run Pro Mod? Because I can't run the rods out of this thing.
And changing the track distance, we're talking about 8th mile for Pro Mod, but changing it to 1,000 foot. How long did that last as far as saving parts and everything?
Saving top funny car bodies.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
First race.
Because drag racers going drag racer.
Yeah.
But, like
First race.
this is the professional level, though. Like this is professional drag racing. So if you don't want to run the rods out of your stuff, there are other places to go. Now, for nitro racing, there's really only one place to go. But if you're nitro racing, then you don't need to be anywhere else, right?
So what's the answer, Clay? Like, because I think the answer, in my opinion, is more money. Like, there needs to be more money over here in this sport, because maybe we're inching towards it, but that's, I really think, the answer. I mean, that's probably going to be the answer on the but it's weird because on the Pro Mod side, y'all are racing for big money right now. And it doesn't seem to really be making a difference.
We're the richest and most well-paid pro modified sanctioning body in existence. And we still get bashed every single day. Like, I can't wait until Monday morning when I get back on the internet and they talk about the car count in Dallas for NHRA Pro Mod. There's a couple things you got to consider. The points championship is pretty much decided. There's, like, with the exception of Ricky not being here, there would be 3 if he was, but there's 2 people that can win it, and it's either Stevie or Chris Thorne, right? So when you're talking about the last race of the season being halfway across the country from the majority of the focal point of our supporters, right, and our racers, we're not going to make the trip. I'm making the trip because I want to. I won this race last year, and there is a mathematical chance that I can get to second and take $20,000 home. But I think that we're in Pro Mod's in a bit of a weird spot. I think we're at a pivotal moment as far as where the sanctioning body is trying to go and where us as the racers are willing to take it. We need, as a whole, we may race for the most money, but it costs so much. All of you know how much it costs to do this. And I think that the NHRA is trying to help us, but in order for us to attract the corporate dollars like it takes to do this stuff, we got to get more exposure. I've said this time and time again on the show, like, for us to attract what it takes to do this, there's got to be eyes on the cars. I've had several sponsors that have gone to Pro Stock this year. Well, I say that, several potential sponsors that have ended up in Pro Stock on cars that don't even really have a chance, and their only reason is it's eyes. It's eyes on the cars. It's eyes on the cars. You guys get the second Thursday following some MLS soccer game that's 2 weeks old, at 2:00 in the morning or whatever, and ain't nobody watching that, and it's just so hard for us to generate the dollars. Like, I'm not, I can't self-fund, right? I'm dependent on finding people that want to ride on the door of my car, and it's freaking hard, dude. I talked to Wes, I'm sure when Wes's phone rings, it says Lyle Barnett, he's like,
here we go again.
That's how we all.
No, man.
That's how we all pitch this deal too.
I love to help.
It's just tough, and it's the same thing. Like, if we need $500,000, y'all need $3 million, and it's equally as hard for you to find $3 million as it is for me to find $500,000.
Yep.
You can find $1.5 million pretty easy for me to find $250, but that doesn't cut it. That don't keep bread on the table and food for the dogs. And it's just freaking hard right now, man. And the future of the economy is so uncertain. People have money, they're holding on to it, they don't want to give none of it away, and it's hard on us, and we're out here trying to make it work. And we could flip all the way back to the beginning of our conversation. It takes drama, it takes, what is it, white hats and black hats, is that what y'all called it?
Yeah,
it's going to start taking
baby
stuff
faces
like
and
that,
heels.
what Sam Gorkas is doing in Street Outlaws, behind the scenes, what's going on at home, the personalities, it's we can't focus on this anymore. Like, everybody wants to see cars going up down the racetrack, but I think we got to start focusing less on that and more on what's going on behind the scenes, because today there's more going on these cell phones right here, and people's attention spans are short.
It's 100% the reason my YouTube channel's growing like crazy right now.
I was just hearing to say, because what kind of response, Clay, have you gotten from your sponsors? Because it's not like you're out here. Parts Plus, you've had Walmart on the side of that car. Summit is a big supporter of yours as well. I mean, are they recognizing what you're doing?
100%. Some of the people that are on my car are there because of my YouTube channel, and I didn't even start that thinking about that, but now we have saw the value of it, and it's they like seeing my car go down the racetrack, but they love what is going on in the lounge of the trailer with me and the crew guys, and what's happening, what are they doing behind the scenes, and the numbers are legit real. I mean, I send those numbers out once a month to those people that care about them, and
I think watch this.
Oh, we got Stevie Fast Jackson rolling through the water right here,
making a whole lot of noise while we're trying to talk.
There are 2 burnouts that are distinct in an HRA drag racing period. If Pro Modified's running, I could stand right here and face that way and tell you when Stevie Jackson does a burnout. And if Top Fuel is running, I can tell you when Clay Millican does a burnout. Have you ever heard this dude do a burnout?
Yeah. He's the only guy out there that doesn't run a throttle stop.
No throttle stop.
The water box and pow, that thing jumps off the ground and does all this. And Clay Millican rolls through the water box. And it's like he takes a sip off the cigar and puts it in the holder. It's nice, and it purrs down through that, like eases up on the tire every single time. Like
I appreciate that.
And Stevie's got the wop wop.
Yep. Every time I could turn around backwards and tell you what
that.
Does a lot of people why don't we see you struggle with a burnout in a turbo car? That used to be one of the things, like the most consistent thing you would see in Pro Mod is the turbo car have to back up and try again.
So I've had to do it like twice this year, and it's 100% dependent on whether the line lock works or not. You cannot do, because we don't fry in high, they fry in high, or you do a burnout in high gear.
Frying high. I like that. That's a t-shirt.
Car, turbo 400, you start in second gear, you never start in first. And if you don't have a line lock, you ain't doing a burnout.
Yeah.
Is this close
No,
enough?
I'm just trying to make sure. Yeah.
But
so
you
got to
have to have a line lock. Those things just don't have any nuts down low.
Right.
So it takes a line lock.
Ooh, Stevie's driving that thing.
Oh, what a wussy.
Man, he was.
Stay in it.
what did it go 586 with the shoots out at 1,000 feet?
He liked it over there by the center line.
Oh, that was stout. Oh my goodness. Tell us your favorite burnout story.
Me?
Yeah, you.
My favorite.
Is there this especially memorable?
100%. That's an easy one.
Okay.
I did a burnout in front of Graceland.
Oh, Meg, we were just talking about Elvis before you got here.
In a top
Top
fuel
fuel car.
dragster.
One of the cool.
We should all pray real quick
We should.
to
I'm
Elvis.
gonna have to excuse myself.
You're an Elvis fan too.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
One of the coolest things I've ever got to do. It was.
Okay, take us through it. How did this all come to be? Clay Millican's going to do a burnout in front of Graceland. What's the name of that street?
Elvis Presley Boulevard.
Elvis Presley Boulevard. Okay. That's what I thought.
So I thought everybody knew that by heart.
Yeah, I thought so.
But so how that come about? We were coming up on the 50th anniversary of Elvis's first single, and the racetrack in Memphis, which was in HRA events back at this time. I think this was like 04, something like that. The racetrack and I had a great relationship, and they're like, we want to do something with Elvis. Are you in? I'm like, are you kidding? Of course I'm in. I don't live but less than an hour from Elvis's house. And so I thought this would be something really, really simple. They wanted to wrap the car in an Elvis theme, which was awesome. And they wanted to do a burnout in front of Graceland. You have no idea how much risk involved with shutting down a major city street to do a burnout. It was one of the coolest things ever, though. I was nervous. Man, I was nervous. But it took, you think about it. If you're shutting down a street, legit shutting down a street, you got to have the fire department, you got to have the police department, you got to have the mayor sign off on all these things. And we had to have a massive amount of insurance in case something went wrong. We actually had to have a catch net, the same as the racetrack, which was pretty cool. They made one that would attach to a pole to the back of the truck, and it drove across the street, which was a little intimidating to be doing a burnout. And it's just like, it's not very far away. Did the burnout.
Well, take it before that. So where's the car at? So you've got it parked somewhere, get it up on Projacks.
Right in front of Elvis's house. Literally on the side of the road.
So you've got the rig.
The
The rig's
is
parked in front of
right
Elvis's house.
Right in front of Elvis's house. We roll the car out, covered up, put it up on projects.
Because you got to warm it up and do all the
typical
normal
stuff.
thing. Yeah.
Actually, we didn't even put it on projects. So we got it covered up. We roll it out. There's media like crazy there. I mean, like CNN was there. It was pretty cool. Jack Soden is the guy that ran Elvis Presley Enterprises at the time. He spoke for a few minutes. Jason Rittenberry, who run the racetrack in Memphis, spoke for a few minutes. Then I spoke for a few minutes. It's not really an Elvis thing, but I had on blue suede driving shoes. That's I grew some sideburns. And so we unveiled the car, and all this is on a script, like scheduled down to the minute. This is how long you've got to talk. This is how long you've got to get the car ready. This is how long you can have the street closed, like down to the minute. Pretty unbelievable schedule, again, because it's a major city street. It's very busy. So we start the car up. I do the burnout. I really wanted to back up and do it again, but I knew better. So I'm so excited. I hop out of the car.
So you started it up like behind a little puddle?
Yeah.
Did you put some water down?
Yeah,
Okay.
put some water down.
Yeah.
Typical, just like here, the thing that like people were worried about. Mike Klober was my crew chief at the time. It's a lot of crown in the street. So, it was like, does the car want to rock off to one side? And I'm like, let's rock on. I can do this. I'm not worried about it. So I do this burnout and I back up. I am pumped because it is a lot. It's Elvis week. I almost said what we call it, which is when Elvis passed away. We might call it Death Week, which is kind of wrong, but that's people that live in the area.
Yeah.
They really call it Death Week?
People in the area do, which is horrible, but that's just kind of what it's known as because it was such a big deal. It still is because tens of thousands of people still come to Memphis for Elvis week. And that's actually the week he passed away. It's not his birthday or anything like that. So I hop out of the car and there's people on the other side of the street. It's a 4-lane street with a median in between. There's piles of people over there. I get out of the car and I start slinging my gloves and stuff. I filled the street up with people, like literally people everywhere. The police are like trying to get us out of there because they want to get the street open. And it was funny. I can hear in my mind's eye, Mike Klober saying, "You see that little guy right there? You move him, all these people will go away." So they grabbed me and we went off to the side, boop, street cleared. And we had a big time. I'm not getting my phone to be rude. I'm getting my phone because I got to show you a photo of what this looked like when all of this came to an end at the end of the burnout. I know I've got it.
Dude, and I think that this is a reminder of how significant those moments are in our sport, that like the shit that really moves the needle typically doesn't happen at the racetrack.
Like Steve Torrance taking
that's
his
preaching
car
to the choir.
to the Capitol and Governor Abbott warming it up.
So I don't know if you can show that to the people or not, but
I remember that.
Hell yeah.
I remember this. Put it up in front of the
Yep.
For everybody, and you can Google it. Of course, that's JT's arm.
Yep. Now flip over one more picture, and you'll
I
see
hope that this is
crowd.
appropriate. Okay.
Look at that. That was
Wow.
that was in the middle of the street, and that was why the police were so upset because so many
Look at
people-
you too. You do have
I
sideburns.
do, yeah.
You see the sideburns,
Oh
Mike?
yeah,
It was-
I remember that. That's the Clay Millican I remember from the IHRA days, right?
It was one of the coolest things, though. I mean, and like I said, it was on CNN. It made national news. It was on ESPN.
This one.
I mean, it was just absolutely crazy and one of the coolest things I ever got to do.
Mike, do you have a burnout story? No, just
I've got
Follow
some.
that
I've
up.
got it. Yeah, I got a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm rooming with the #1 burnout in drag racing.
yeah, he's
JT
rooming with
Hudson.
the #1 burnout story in the history of drag racing.
We
JT
did
Hudson.
we did a burnout in front of the Charlotte Convention Center in my dad's car. My dad did the burnout, but we had to spray water, pull him in, just the whole thing in the parking
55?
lot, in the 55. This
purple.
would've
Which car was
the
this? The
purple
Mooney
one.
car? The
yeah,
purple and
mid,
yellow?
the mid 2000s. It was for some auto expo that was happening, but yeah, there's been a ton in the early days of Pro Mod. They would ask you to do a burnout anywhere, anytime
in like Walmart aisle 5.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be?
I mean,
'Cause
back in the
right through the
IHRA
front
days,
door.
I do remember pro mods like going to local restaurants and getting with it.
I understand like the safety concerns, and you mentioned the legality and the red tape and all that, but man, I don't know if there is any way to like more successfully impact a group of people. you know what I mean, than to pull out a purpose-built drag car and do a big old nasty burnout, man. Lyle, what's your go-to? Do you have a favorite? Like, you've got so many different things. Let's talk about Pro Mod. You've been in the NHRA Pro Mod for a couple of years now. Is there a burnout story you got for us? Nothing? Nothing?
Never done one outside of the racetrack.
No, I'm talking about, like, is there a moment you felt like you did a longer one and maybe you took a long time backing up? Nothing? What about in beer money?
I've done some pretty monumental ones in that thing. At some places I probably shouldn't have done burnouts in that may get me arrested. But
Yeah, he's trying to keep his nose clean.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
He
saying.
was dodging that question.
yeah.
big
white
time.
capping right in that white hat.
Yeah,
right now?
white
Yeah,
hat.
white hat.
Yeah,
right
white
now.
hat.
He was
Yeah.
dodging that pretty hard.
Yeah, I felt like you were kind of
definitely
dodging
watching
it.
the Pro Stock Motorcycle. Hoping
That
it
was
wouldn't sling
rolling,
that to me.
actually. 685 202.
Not bad.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Angie, right?
Oh, that was Angie?
Angie's got a bike here to finish out the year, man. Yeah.
202
She's
in the heat of
had-
the day.
She's had arguably the bike to beat at a handful of
This is
these
my
last
wife.
races.
In a stick shift, by the way.
Oh,
She's
God
boiling
bless her.
them.
She is boiling.
Mm.
Man, I think
I
burnouts.
do have a good burnout.
See, I knew it was in there.
Cletus and Cars.
Oh,
In
yeah.
in the Motion Raceworks Bald Regal.
Let's talk about all this because I do think that that's one thing Australia.
Well, you should
I'm
have spoke
American
up.
made. I'm American proud, but Australia does have us, over the barrel in terms of making burnouts a show.
You talking about the burnout cars?
Yes,
that they have?
I think that's something drag racing. Like if I was Christy Meyer, we had her in here earlier, and if she asked me for any input, I'm gonna say, I'm cutting cookies and doing burnouts on this return road. I'm
Sorry.
building that in,
Well,
Whipping
I mean-
shitties.
whipping shitties,
I mean,
whatever you want to
come
call it.
on.
Right?
Indy poured concrete for Cletus.
Yeah.
Right in between the grandstands.
Have you
and
ever
drag
been to
strip.
one of his shows?
I have not, because every single one of them have been on top of something that we're
It's-
doing.
It's worth missing.
So take
Well,
us
But
through.
I want to get to this real quick since we're on the Cletus thing. Pete Harrell is a bad dude.
Oh,
bad
man.
dude.
Bad
You know,
dude.
and like, so Pete's been tuning for me since 2013, right?
Yeah.
And I've wanted so
Does he
bad.
tune the Warpath, or is
He
it?
tunes Warpath. He tunes Beer Money. He tunes the Dart. Anything that I drive outside of NHRA Pro Modified, more than likely Pete.
And I want to explain to
To
everybody
some
right
degree.
quick why I'm saying that. So this past weekend, FL2K, and we were talking about
Shout out to
Cletus
Vic
McFarland.
Alvarez.
Yes, absolutely. Vic, I want to come make a top fuel lap at Bradenton. Just saying.
We'll do it
Yeah.
March 3rd,
Just
4th,
Yeah,
and
you want to
5th.
do that
Amen.
first week of March?
I'm just saying.
Okay.
I want to make it happen. The place
All
wants
right.
people.
Here we
But,
go.
but back to Pete Harrell.
Shit's happening fast.
Back to Pete Harrell.
You got your book out.
Cletus
Taking notes?
Cletus McFarland's got this El Camino. It's an awesome machine. I mean, he's done really well at the drag and drive events. I think it had been 690s,
Had it been in the
At
sixes?
best,
Okay.
it had.
97 or 8.
something like that. Pete Harrell comes in for one day, then he's tuning by email, and by the weekend's over with.
Shout
that
out
car-
Gmail.
that thing goes 654 at 221 miles an hour in a 3,500-pound car that has drove over 4,000 miles this year. Pete Harrell's a bad dude.
Bad dude. Like
He can play a saxophone.
he can't.
He's like a legit.
His
like-
YouTube channel is awesome because the music is his.
Yeah.
So Pete Harrell's
He's not getting any
YouTube
copyright
channel
issues on
is
that.
real good at doing stuff.
Yes.
That is the
real
name of it.
good at
Yeah,
doing
that's the name of
stuff.
his channel.
And he's got Polishing Turds as one of his series. He builds these crappy motors. It's awesome, But I would dare to say that Pete Harrell is the most underrated bumper to bumper tuner in the game today. The most underrated there is.
I believe that because
100%.
I've always known he was really good at doing stuff.
Yep.
But that was totally impressive to take a car that has been out there for a little bit and to make it go a half a second quicker. Let's just call it
in one weekend.
in one
And
weekend.
he wasn't there.
And he wasn't
for the
there.
Well,
rest
this
of
is a
the
pretty
day.
high
Yeah.
profile deal. He
Yeah.
might be
It
moving
don't-
up in the world, Lyle.
Hey,
I
I
think he
guarantee
is.
you his
told
YouTube
him
channel
that.
gained about 10,000 subscribers.
It doubled in size in
Yeah.
like 48 hours.
Yeah.
But so I talked to Pete yesterday, and we were talking about all the calls he's going to get now for tuning, help and what he's going to have to do as far as his social media pages and this, that, and the other. And I said, but dude, if there's one thing that is for certain, it's that wherever Cletus McFarland goes, I don't care what you've got going on. It's time to take the plane ticket he's about to buy you and get there, because that is the ticket to where you're going, And he called me. Well, when we were on the phone,
He'll
was
come get you in his plane or helicopter.
He 100%. He flies right over us. Like they're going to World Cup Finals in Maryland in November. He was like, I swore I'd never go back. I guess he went there and had a bad experience one time. And I'm like, Pete, I'll smack you in the mouth if your ass at Maryland International Raceway in November for World Cup Finals. I said, if all else fails, Cletus, as he flies up from Bradenton, will just hover over HED in Mooresville, North Carolina.
Pick
scoop
you up
and keep right on trucking.
Yeah.
But your ass is going. I don't care what we've got going on. I'll cancel.
Yeah. He 100% needs to be there for all of that.
Because you gotta lean into that. Like when you have your moment in the sun, you gotta show up. Like put your shades on and show up,
but
man.
100% the reason why Beer Money is as successful as it is, right?
I believe that.
All I do is drive it.
Yeah.
I transport it to the racetrack, put spark plugs in it. Sometimes I put fuel in it if somebody else doesn't, and I make sure that I make sure to roll out the tires is relatively close. Right?
Relatively close.
Otherwise, it's Pete Harrell, and if he's not there, he's just like he was for Cletus. I find, because we're at these podunk, just absolute shithole racetracks most of the time, no prep racing. Sometimes they're down, like if you're at Shady Side. Now, Shady Side's not a shithole, it's a cool track, but there's no service down on the bottom level. So I take my scooter and my laptop, ride to the road, email Pete. I'm like, dude, you got to make it quick. I got to get back down to the bottom. And I wait. He's like, all right, it's there. Download the tune, ride back to the bottom, load her in. We go to the starting line. I don't think we've lost a race there in like 2 years, but
That's
Pete's
awesome.
unbelievable. He's good.
Oh, isn't drag racing amazing like that? All right, so real quick, because I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to interview me about my drag racing experience Monday. So y'all can I'm open to whatever question you want to ask. I raced Monday night, and I'm here to, just kind of lay it all out, so whatever you want to know, and, I can offer some lessons and insight, whatever you'd like. I'm just joking. But tell us the Bald Regal story. So for those that don't know, Doug Cook's got this Buick Regal with an LS in it, right? An LSA in it, which is his dedicated burnout car. And you got the chance at Bowling Green?
No,
at Bradenton.
At Freedom Factory.
At the Freedom Factory to be in one of these Cletus McFarland burnout competitions. And you told me it was like one of the most memorable, emotional experiences you've ever had.
Yep. So we started the weekend. Stevie Jackson and I ran the 2.4 hours of the mullets, and we were terrible. Like we did awful. Stevie wrecked the first car we had in like the first 30 minutes or 20 minutes. And then I got put in some backup car that the belts wouldn't tighten on. And we had radios, and I got on the radio and told my buddy Clint Fields that was spotting for me. I said, dude, I am falling out of the seat. And what that means is you're not really in the seat when you go into the corners. My side and my back and my neck were hurting so bad. And in fact, when I crashed, I mean, I got caught up in some shit, but when I crashed, it was literally because I was so tired. I was behind the steering wheel as the car was out of shape and just nosed to right and busted the radiator.
And you were like, thank goodness that's over.
I'm glad it's over.
Like,
Back to drag racing.
And I was mad, I was all mad about it and stuff. Thank God that this is over. 'Cause I was hurting so bad. But so the next day, Doug had told me, like, if you're going to be down here, you can do the burnout competition in the Bald Regal. Now, mind you, I've never done one of these. And like, there's all this, call it tipping it in, which sounds.
It's all straight.
JT does that quite a bit, right?
Yeah. And so when we get there, we unload the car and we're on the main stretch there with the motion trailer, because obviously Cletus is a part owner at Motion Raceworks. And I asked Doug, I'm like, dude, they're doing like burnout testing, which is, it's so awesome. But I'm like,
It's just funny to hear
can
people
I go
burnout
can I
testing.
go make a test rip? And he's like, yeah,
What is that?
but alcohol funny car or alcohol dragster, I think, or funny car.
Oh, there I see it.
But I asked Doug, I'm like, dude, can I go make a test rip?
That's the loudest one we've had all day.
That's pretty
that
cool.
wasn't bad.
And he was like, yeah, but don't do it too long, because like these are the tires that you're going to do the competition in,
Yeah.
So I whip that thing up and I come in hot and I come around the corner and whip it around and I do a couple and I come out and Doug's like, dude, if you do that in the competition, you're winning. And I'm like, really? Like I felt like that was pretty mediocre, and I was on the fence. I watched everybody do burnouts and was taking notes, and Cletus was there in toast and he was doing burnouts, and I'm like,
Which is like an IROC Camaro with a supercharged Chevy headed motor in it, big black Chevy.
1471.
Yeah, it's got a 1471 on it. Yeah.
So the time comes, right? It's prime time, and they have like an open invitational deal or an open deal where you can just show up and do it, and then they have like the invitational, which pays $2,500 to win. And because I was in the motion car, I was in the invitational. I was like third from last, and I was ready to vomit. Like, I'm so nervous. Like, my buddies are there. The crowd is it was packed. People are going nuts. And I'm like, dude, for the love of God, don't screw this up. Like, from this point forward, the tune-ups in the race car, all you can do is screw it up.
Right.
So I'm in the chute, and it was a little bit cool that night, and I start the burnout, and
He's on one. 521?
What?
27.
Oh,
pretty good rip, though.
This is seriously good rip.
It was a little bit cool, and it sounded like the car was on like 6 cylinders. And I look out the window, and Andy Cook, who's Doug's brother, is standing there, and he's like, and all of a sudden that thing wakes up, and it's on the limiter. And that thing's got those tractor flaps, and they're kind of, those things are stood straight up, and I'm like, oh, we are in. And I let off the brake and come through there, and that thing's hauling ass, and I whip it around. And I looked out the window, and the whole crowd is going nuts, and I'll just lose it. Like, I'm screaming in over here and over there and whipping around, and I couldn't see anything. And I'm like, dude, the last thing you want to do is get what they call walled up. Walled up. When you get caught in the wall, So I kept looking and kept finding the wall and whatnot, and I spin it around, and I've got my hand out the window, and it comes around and it starts bogging down. And I remember Doug telling me, if it starts to bog down, just pull it down in first. It's got a power glide in it. Doug goes, "Brrr," and I pulled it down to first. Whips back up, and Cletus is and I get out, and I get on top of the roof, and I'm pound the beers together and stuff, and I walk around the edge of the car, and the wheels have had a half-inch shaved off every side, because I had been on the rim for I don't know how long, and that's why Cleve's like, please stop, that's my concrete pad, So they pull it off, and I'm like, man, I felt like that was pretty good. We're a top 3 at least, and I ended up winning the deal. And Cletus was like, dude, I really don't want to give you the win because you're in the motion car, which I'm a part owner.
Right. Looks bad for him.
I can't not. And it was, that was by far the best, but the most fun I've had doing a burnout ever. It was, oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you remember it.
When I got out, the crowd, it was like I couldn't hear myself yelling for the people. It was unbelievable. Like, the crowd there is something it's like No Prep Kings, but they're just there to see a burnout. And it was just so freaking cool.
But isn't that like a big reminder for all of us of like the potential this sport has? You know what I mean? Like, I get super pissed at these Formula Drift guys because they're stealing our deal. Like, hey man, we made doing burnouts fashionable, and y'all are kind of capitalizing on it, but it's proof positive. That's like probably one of the most successful organizations that exist in motorsports today, Formula Drift. And they're doing what we do every weekend all day.
Except it's way harder.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I went to drift school.
Did you?
I sucked at it. Yeah.
Is that something you got a kick at? Was it fun?
I want to do
What kind of car, really?
Oh yeah. Well, we started out with a Mustang. Somebody broke the rear end immediately.
Who could that be?
I don't know. So then I ended up in a little BMW, but Taylor Hull, he's a pro drift guy, and he has a school, and he does really, really good. Like donuts, I didn't have no problem doing that, but doing what they do is freaking impressive. So this was right before the racetrack closed in Memphis, and I rode with him through the road course. And I'm not worried about wrecking because there's nothing to hit, but we're going through all those turns and chicanes, and I'm just laughing like, we ain't making that corner. Dude, he grabs that brakes, backs it around the corner and all this stuff. I'm like, that's freaking impressive. It's cool. I enjoy trying
short, though, man. Doing a burnout in a top fuel car with no throttle stop.
He just rolled.
Doing a burnout in any drag car is might be the most challenging part of the whole deal.
It ain't
right?
easy.
Doing a good
Without
burnout
limiter. And look,
yeah,
and I'll go on record and say it. If you need a burnout limiter in a top fuel car, it's different, I think. But if you need a burnout limiter to do a burnout in a drag car, you don't need to be driving a drag car.
Yeah, the problems with the top fuel cars, you only got about this much throttle travel, and that's why that's a challenge to me. You're talking about my burnouts being cool. That's just something I challenge myself with.
So you don't have
does it concern your crew chief? Like, does it concern the team?
It should.
Yeah, it should.
we have a throttle stop on there because it's required. Like they don't want the throttle to hang, whatever. But
Understand.
I don't use it. It's on there, but I don't really use it. But it's just a fun thing for me, and it is kind of silly. I have screwed it up before, messed the run up, but it's fun.
No, I'm glad. I mean, because to your point, man, like there is several times that you like watch a burn, you can tell, you know what I mean? And I don't want to get anybody mad at me, but you can tell when one of these things like need valve springs and need it immediately after a burnout versus like the sweet, sweet song of a real deal race car.
Because you want to keep that thing
right there.
Yeah.
You want that RPM low, keep the tire, keep the contact patch wide, heated up. I mean, I kind of feel like that's the lost art. Everybody's just
I think
like,
it is a
put it
lost
on
art.
the limiter,
Yeah.
bang this thing off the limiter.
No, I
Remember that
agree.
thing.
No, I
I
totally
agree.
agree.
Exactly.
That's the way it should be.
No, it is the way it should be. And we don't get enough of that, to be honest with
And
you.
Some speaking of drifting, I don't know if y'all. I mean, I follow Cletus's stuff. He's a good buddy of mine, but that dude, like, pretty good at drifting, right?
He's a good
Not
driver.
a bad
He's a
round
good
driver.
driver.
Did you watch him in a jet boat?
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. The hardest part to me is, okay, I don't know about doing all those turns. How do you remember that?
Well, I mean, but I mean, imagine. Okay, it's me and
You
right?
mean like memorizing the course of the
Yeah.
turns?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Clay Millican's driving the jet boat, and you got me in the passenger seat trying to tell him which way. Like, you're not paying attention to me.
that's
I'm
got to
not.
be that's
No.
like
Hope
that-
not.
You're paying attention to me.
We're going to hit
I'm
the
kicking
wall.
your ass
yeah,
when we get out 'cause
exactly.
we're wrecking.
Because
You
we're
know?
wrecking.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
being a
Exactly.
passenger and something like that has to be
Well,
more
it's twice as
terrifying than being
Spence.
the
Spencer
driver.
rides with it, you know,
Yeah.
and memorizes the course. And they set the record and won the last race. I think he drove that jet boat.
Yeah, it's
You know,
crazy.
Do they have a big notebook that the guy that
They-
you're going
they-
through?
they
is
give 'em
the-
Like a rally racing
Yeah.
deal.
Here's the bad thing is it's not the same every race.
Right.
Oh man,
It's the
Well, no,
same.
yeah, none of the tracks are laid out the same.
Yeah, but
know,
I
and
mean, they can do it different from day to day. I
Yeah,
remember
just
watching
change
that
the-
video.
They
flags.
don't know what the layout's going to be until they show up.
Yeah,
you
they
know,
get this
and then they
little
have
map.
to study.
I'm like,
You have to remember that,
yeah,
and then because you know the track. If the track is as big as this table, and the race is 3 times as long as this table, you circle
Yeah.
around the same parts maybe twice.
Yeah,
right? You know,
yeah.
but you always go a different way, and
yeah, it's
dude,
nuts.
insane.
It is
But
nuts.
I've been impressed because you wonder like if he was going to be able to translate this to this to this to this, and he's been like above average at everything he's dove into. It's pretty incredible, man. I mean, it's a wonder that I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned from what Cletus is doing. To be honest, you know.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I think we 100% need to be doing some different things. If y'all remember last year at PRI show, me and Swanstrom got into a little thing about he wanted to race me, and I've got a promoter that wants to make this happen at Gulfport. Who knows? That might be something we look at. You know, Lyle, how much spot? What would be a fair race? Swanstrom's car against the Top Fuel car.
So you're talking like a 370 8th mile car
To
versus
what?
a three.
38.
Yeah, it's 8th mile. What are we talking? Spot him 200 feet, 300 feet? I mean, what I don't know.
A stagger the tree. We did that out here Monday night. That was cool because Monday night we did we ran Scott Palmer raced Jeff Deal.
Yep.
And Austin here at the track.
Yep.
He actually works for NHRA. He's like a timing system specialist. He staggered the heads up tree like the no bull shootout back in the day at Bristol. I think they did 210s. You know, I think you'd have to give him
Y'all run 290s,
Three flat
Three
would be a
flat?
good number.
to spot him.
set him out 200 feet, I think,
Yeah.
because they'll go from the start line to the 330. That car should go 350 or 250s, right?
My car?
No.
Oh,
no,
their car. I don't know. That's
the
why I'm
330,
asking.
it
That's
should
why I'm
go- it
asking
should
you.
go 250 and some.
Yeah.
I would think.
On a really good rip, like we'll just take for instance when
we'll swap out with JT.
when
Are
Stevie,
you leaving?
When Stevie ran
Oh, you
the other
gotta
night,
pee.
he went like 242 to the middle or something like that.
Yeah.
So I would think that you would have to set Justin out 200 feet would be fair.
Yeah.
I think.
I think
Would you
that-
do that?
Oh, absolutely.
absolutely would.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know Britt Cummins and him and Galen are taking over the track in Gulfport.
He texted me about that the other day.
And
it's crazy.
They're kind of starting to bug me to make that race happen with Swanstrom.
It'd be awesome.
I think
Yeah,
it would.
man. It would
Yeah,
be
no.
I think
awesome.
it'd be awesome.
I think
What do you think of Justin
And again,
Swanstrom?
that
He's
would
got,
bring
I mean,
that
he's
bring
doing
in
a pretty
whole
good job
different-
over there.
whole different crowd.
Yeah,
different
I
crowd.
think he's definitely a black hat.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Um,
Yep.
But they've always
Heel.
been like that. You know, I don't know if you I'm sure you did a few months ago that Corey and I got into it
Yeah, I saw
on
that.
the internet, you know, and that's a prime example of what I talked about earlier, that they're pretty good at dishing it out and they're terrible at taking it. I kind of called them out, and it's all in, like, I got a bunch of hate mail, man. My inbox blew up.
Those no prep fans are no
Dude,
joke
I
on the
mean, and
internet, man. I mean, they jump on people
I text
quick.
Sam Corcus and I'm like, man, your fans are ruthless. Like, there were people, I mean, I'm not death threats, but there were people like,
We got those too, though,
yeah,
didn't
you
we?
cocky MFer, who the you think you know? I'm like, whoa, man. Like, this is all in fun. I've been friends with the Swanstrom family for years. I've been on Justin's podcast. Like, it's all good, you know. But Corey told me after we got off the live, he's like, man, you really have me pissed off. You know? And I'm like, really, man? Like, you guys are the biggest shit talkers I've ever seen in my entire life and tend to take it pretty well. Has the MPK, you know, it's made you soft? Are you getting old and soft? Or like what's the deal? You know, but I mean, I think that Justin fits the mold over there well. I think they need
Big
him.
Country's hilarious.
He
though.
is.
Oh, he is
And
funny.
he's
He is.
witty, man. Like,
Yep.
that is, if there's anybody, period, on the internet that I will not get into a scuffle with, it's him, because he will outwit you. Comment to comment, he's effing you up every time. You know?
Isn't that funny that that's a thing in 2022? That it's like, man, comment for comment. It's not pound for pound like boxing. Comment for comment. Corey Swanstrom may be
Would you
the
still
all-time
win? I
great.
wouldn't.
No, dude, he is. He's sharp. He's
He'll mess
witty,
you up.
but
It
it's
cracks me up because he doesn't care. Like,
and he's
like,
so
you know,
sure
like,
of himself.
like,
That's
we
really
had him
where it
on. We
comes
had him
from.
on one time on the DI ride along, and he's like
In
laying
bed.
you know, and it just cracked me.
Whenever
up,
he
man.
came on the show and he was literally like in his patent white t-shirt, that Hanes t-shirt or whatever, and like he's laying up against some wood and I'm like, are you in bed? He's like, yeah, man, getting comfortable for you. I'm like, oh, all right, fair enough, Corey, appreciate you, you know, cleaning up.
He was
getting
almost
ready.
like
Looks like he
in
ate
a senior
4
picture
gas
pose.
station hot dogs for lunch.
Yeah.
Got mustard all over.
But he was like laying there like in a senior picture pose almost, you know.
Dude,
Oh,
I
man.
mean, I love, to be honest, you know, we've been a big fan of what's going on over there since the onset. You know, I think there's some belief that we weren't, but I've been saying for a long time, we need drag racing to become fashionable. Like, we need it to be a cool thing to have a hot rod. And I really think that they've helped usher in that era,
Absolutely.
you know, because it had faded. You know, I tell this story a lot about graduating high school with a 87 S10 with an aluminum headed small block in it, you know, and it's bump pulling it. And I was a weirdo. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I was
it
like the
It had
outcast.
stacks out the back.
I
of
did
it.
not have
That's-
stacks. It had
that's
full
what- that's what
exhaust
made him
on
a
it because it was
weirdo.
a street car. But you know what I mean? Like, the cool kids had like Priuses or whatever, you know, like in
See, I'm much older, so I didn't have that problem.
no, you didn't have it.
Yeah.
But this modern era of kids, like it's not been cool to have a hot rod. And I think the Street Outlaws and No Prep Kings, they've reintroduced that car culture and like, hey, it's okay to have a shop rag in your pocket. It's okay to have busted knuckles. Like, it's okay to be that guy. And so I feel the sport of drag racing and car culture in general owes those cats a significant debt of gratitude.
I'll say it all.
I got to
You
tell
know?
y'all real quickly. I don't know what they played on the show. I was fixing to say showed on the show when Justin wrecked at Reading.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, him and Captain Chaos had a
they
knockdown
went toe-to-toe.
screaming match down there.
Yep.
So I called the captain. You know, I drove for the captain for many
Kenny
years.
Koretsky, for those that don't
Koretsky's
know.
one of my best
Incredible
friends.
guy.
Unbelievable dude. I call him and I'm like, Captain, you have no idea, because my little sister was watching a live feed and sent it to me. We were racing somewhere, and I was like, Captain, you have no idea what you're fixing to catch on social media. And he's like, why? Is that a big deal what we had going? He didn't even realize No Prep Kings was that big a deal at the moment, you know? And he's like, what do you mean I'm going to get ripped up on social media? I'm like, because the guy just wrecks his car and y'all are screaming at each other. And he's like, do you think what people say on social media affects my life at all? I'm like, you're right, Captain. Never mind.
Because he does not
He
care.
does not care.
He does not care at all. Kenny Koretsky, we need more Kenny Koretskys out here.
Man, you ain't kidding.
Yeah, well, they've done an incredible job, like getting that place
Oh, it
mixed
looks
Grove
beautiful.
Raceway. Shout out to those guys. It's an incredible thing. Thank God, because drag racing is heavily reliant on these guys that are doing it for all the right reasons. You know, I mean, Russell Miller and the kept Darlington alive for all these years, and I mean the Meyer family down here, and the Bader family, and the Vandermeer family. It's taken people like that to keep
yeah.
this thing headed in the right
Revamping them.
direction. revamping them, reinvesting.
The maintenance on these places has got to be just crazy. You put this many people through the stands, through the gates, on the weekends. And if you don't keep up with it, we've seen what happens.
Oh yeah.
And then you get so far behind,
yeah,
you're overwhelmed, and
You can't ever really
places
catch up.
End up, closing, unfortunately.
Yep.
How does Clay Millican, one of like the squeakiest, cleanest dudes I've ever met, run around with Kenny Koretsky?
Man, I got a lot of captain stories because again, I drove for him for many years. So the first year that he bought the Top Fuel team and we're racing in Reading, he had me fly in early because he wanted me to check out his operation. Kenny has a large landfill, beautiful place. You think landfill, you think garbage dump. That's not what it is. Beautiful place, but that's another story. So that night he's like, I want to take you to this awesome steak place. I'm like, okay, cool. Where are we going? He's like, Atlantic City. I said, Captain, I take my racing really serious. We got qualified tomorrow. I'm not going to the casino and staying all night with you. No. We're just going to the steak place. Well, the next thing I know, we're driving really fast. I'm like, dang, Captain, what's the hurry? He said, this place is going to close. I said, it's a casino. It never closes. He says, well, this steak place does because it's a fancy place and they do close. So he ends up on his phone. Excuse me. And he's like, this is Koretsky here. I'm bringing special people, blah, blah, blah. This is all I can hear. And he hangs up and he slows down. I'm like, what's the deal? He's like, they're staying open for me. Literally,
surprised.
We get there. We park right out front. He just gets out, leaves the car running. I follow him in. The steak place, you're over here laughing, but it's true. The steak place is closed. But when they saw him, they opened it. We had a guy, fancy place, like got a towel over his arm kind of place, sits us down. The chef's still there, and this guy's there to wait on us. And that was it.
Wow.
Like
My kind of guy.
Captain made a call, and they stayed open for him.
My local,
Wes, where we
my
eat
local
tonight,
Mexican
who do you
restaurant
keep
does
open?
that.
I'll keep
Oh,
the place
really?
open for us. I got a Kenny Koretsky story, but it didn't end very well. I won't tell this one. It was great for Kenny and all that, but I will tell you, I was in Las Vegas in like 2008 or 9. We just started the magazine a couple of years prior, and he wanted me to go out with him in Vegas. And I said, where are we going? He was like, meet me at Studio 54 at MGM Grand. I got a couple suites there, whatever. And he was gambling there. And I said, well, what do I do to get into the club? And he goes, just tell him you're with Captain Chaos. And I said, say those words, because that seems a little awkward. And he's like, yeah, what do you mean? And I said, so you want me to say the words, I'm with Captain Chaos? He said, yes, correct. I'm like, okay. And sure as shit, I showed up at Studio 54 at the MGM Grand with a buddy of mine. And I told him, I said, hey, I'm with Captain Chaos. And they're like, right this way,
And you're
sir.
young.
I'm like 24, you know what I mean? They're like, right this way, sir. And they took me to some elevator and it is a whole scene. And later that night, things went south. But
yeah, I have stories that I am not telling with cameras on.
yeah, that was the most
exactly.
G-rated version I have of that story, because the rest of them I can't even. I don't know that I could say them out loud. But no, dude, that
What
guy
a great dude, though.
What a great guy.
Yeah.
Another fantastic ambassador for the sport of drag racing. So before we wrap this thing up, and I want to remind everybody, huge shout out to all of our sponsors, Flow Racing. Shout out to those guys, because they've been running episodes of the show during oil downs and track prep and stuff during PDRA races and
Pretty
MCA
awesome.
races.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome, man. It's incredible to have a partner like that. Huge shout out to Tommy Cunningham, the whole team at Stroud Safety, Mark Beatty, and everybody at Redline Oil. We cannot do this without you guys. But I'm curious. I just got a text from Scott Palmer. Scott's going to make a lick.
Yeah, he is in the Studebaker.
In the Studebaker.
Oh, I can't wait.
When's he gonna do it?
Here shortly.
Well, let's turn the
would you
camera
drive
around.
this thing?
I would.
Would you?
I knew it. 110% chance Clay Millican
Would you?
I would.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
He told me,
I'd
he goes,
ride
you need to
Clay
do a
Millican
burnout.
in the passenger seat. If
You know
Scott
what?
Palmer had a passenger seat in it, he said, you know what, Lyle, I think I'm going to let Clay drive. You want to ride? Absolutely.
I'd ride in the back.
100%.
So I got it.
I'd ride in the back.
Yeah.
No seatbelt.
So you just got to put a seat and beer money, and I'll ride with you.
Bam.
Is there already a seat in it?
there's mounts for one. I took it out for weight purposes, but I will mount that thing right back in there. Clay Millican, you were riding shotgun.
Count me in.
Oh
It
no,
may cost me 2 or 300.
Right. I don't weigh much.
We'll be-
I don't weigh much.
Oh,
You got that down.
You've got the Ricky Smith down.
How many? 2 or 300.
Oh my goodness. Hey guys, thank you all so much for being a part of this. Clay, thank you for coming up here. Clay just drove across the country to get here, came straight up here.
Well, no, I got to tell the truth.
Okay.
I know we're trying to wrap up. So the moment I park, this is always like mine and Donna's routine. We set up the dog habitat. We bring both of our miniature bull terriers. Lyle loves them. They always attack him. They like him. They really do. One of them looks like the target dog, or Spuds McKenzie, actually.
Yeah, I've seen him on.
So
Just like him.
yes, he does. So we put this fence out by our motorhome so we could open the door and let them out. So that took precedence over getting here to see you
I
guys.
appreciate it.
But anyway, the dogs
But
came first.
You made it up here.
We're
though.
your dogs too, though, man.
Yeah, we're your dog.
absolutely.
We're homies.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're the homies. No, thank you guys so much for being a part of this each and every Wednesday. It's crazy that we get to sit around and talk about drag racing and call it our livelihood. Lyle, thanks for being up here, man. Brett, huge shout out to Christy Meyer, the whole team, Cheeseburger, DeMarcus, Christy, Barry, everybody at the Texas Motorplex. We really appreciate the hospitality, and we can't wait to spend our weekend at the Texas Stampede of Speed and the NHRA Fall Nationals T. Thanks a bunch, guys, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Same bat time, same bat channel, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time every Wednesday. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it. If I had music, I would play it, but I'm out of pocket here, you know. Okay, the beatbox. Here comes the beatbox. Thanks, Clay. Thank you, guys. We'll talk soon.